Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto awakens a Kekkei Genkai in Wave. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. A blonde-haired boy could be seen walking beside a girl with crazy bright bubblegum pink hair and pale skin. On the other side of the girl was another boy with black hair, this one's hair shaped like a duck's butt. In front of them, reading an orange book and giggling, was a man with spiky, gravity-defying gray hair. In the middle of the three was a man drinking out of a bottle with a straw hat on his head and thick black framed glasses on his face. This man is Tazuna, the bridge builder from the small country of Wave. The three teens are Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Uzumaki Naruto. The man reading is Hitaki Kakashi, and together they make Team 7, and this was their first C-rank mission. So far it seemed normal as they escorted Tazuna to his village. Sakura was pestering Sasuke for a date, Sasuke was brooding, and Naruto was rethinking his life choices, mainly his quickly diminishing crush on Sakura. He walking past a puddle stopped, as his brain registered the fact that it hadn't rained in months, and his nose could detect scents in the puddle. He, shaking his head, pulled a kunai out from his pocket and said, "Okay idiots, come out, as your genjutsu sucks because a puddle when it hasn't rained in months is kinda stupid." His team besides Kakashi looked at him strangely until two men with clawed gauntlets rose from the puddle with mask on. Before they could even attack, Naruto knocked both of them out, with the blunt side of his kunai. Sighing, he tied the two idiots up, and searched them for anything useful. Finding some good things, he turned to Kakashi and said, "Kakashi-sensei, these two are members of the Mist Demons." Kakashi, nodding, turned to Tazuna, who was sweating, and asked, "Why are two C-rank missing nin and prominent members of the Mist Demons after you, Tazuna-san?" Tazuna, dropping to his knees, spilled the beans about his country being under the ruthless thumb of Gato, the tiny tyrant. He also admitted to lying about the rank of the mission. He then tried the guilt trip by saying that they didn't have to help him, he would just go on and be killed, making his poor daughter and grandson swear vengeance on Konoha. Kakashi, sighing, took a vote with his team to consider if they should go on or not. Sasuke, wanting to gain his dojutsu, voted to continue on. Sakura, being the ever-loyal fangirl, followed Sasuke's lead. Naruto, not wanting Gato to continue and oppress Wave, voted to press onward. Kakashi, sighing, said that they were continuing the mission, but he was sending for backup, hopefully another team, or maybe an Anbu or two. After crossing a bridge on a boat being moved by a oar, Team 7 made their way to the mainland, and Sasuke, trying to show off, threw a kunai into the bush. He, moving the bush, scowled, spotting a snow-white bunny, basically terrified for life. Naruto and Kakashi, both spotting the coat of the bunny, instantly were on guard, knowing that something was up. Seconds later, Naruto tackled Tazuna down to the ground while shouting, "Get down!" Kakashi did the same for Sakura and Sasuke. There in the tree not far from them was a huge sword, with two holes in it. Standing on the blade was a man of about 6 feet with no shirt on, tan skin, spiky black hair, and bandages wrapped around his face. Kakashi, spotting the man, cursed and said, "Momochi Zabuza, leader of the Mist Demons, legendary demon of the Bloody Mist, and one of the 7 swordsmen of the Mist. Why are you here?" Zabuza, snorting, said, "Sharingan no Kakashi, no wonder those two failed, you're here. Oh well, hand over the old man and no one has to die." Kakashi, sighing, said, "I'm afraid I can't do that, because it would look bad so." Zabuza, shaking his head, said, "Don't say I didn't warn you." He then jumped down into the water and did the infamous hidden mist jutsu. Naruto, getting in front of Tazuna, started to spread his senses, trying to get ready for an attack, ignoring the killing intent pouring from Kakashi and Zabuza. His ears, hearing Sasuke tremble, said, "Teme, stop trembling. Kakashi's got this, he's not gonna let any of us die." His words were confirmed when Kakashi said, "Naruto is right. Calm down, I won't let anything happen to my cute little genin." Zabuza's voice could then be heard as he said, "So you say, Kakashi. Now there's 8 lethal points I can strike." Naruto's ears, picking up a whooshing sound, quickly moved to the middle of the formation and blocked a heavy blow from Zabuza's sword. Naruto, grunting in effort, said, "Not happening, no brows." Kakashi then appeared and stabbed the man in the gut while eyes smiling at Naruto. Zabuza then turned into a water clone and Kakashi was sliced in half by Zabuza. Naruto wasn't surprised when Kakashi himself turned into water. Soon Kakashi was trapped in a water prison by Zabuza, who had created 2 more water clones. Naruto, seeing this, spammed 16 clones of his own, and pulled out a large windmill-shaped shuriken. Tossing it, he watched as it sliced through one of the water clones that was being distracted and sliced through 2 of his own clones that were holding the other water clone still. It then went sailing at the real Zabuza, who caught it with his right hand with a smug smirk on his face. His eyes widened when another shuriken was heading his way. He, jumping over this one, felt his eyes widen when a Naruto clone appeared where the first shuriken had been, holding a kunai, and another clone appeared above him holding 2 kunai like daggers heading straight down. His eyes widened even more when 2 more clones appeared out of the water ready to punch him. As for the other shuriken, it transformed into a clone of Naruto who, spinning in the air, tossed the real demon will shuriken at Zabuza. The man deflected the first clone with a kunai, got stabbed by the 2 kunai in his shoulders and head-butted the Naruto who did so, and stomped on both of clones from below. He was then forced to let go of the prison when the shuriken embedded itself in his back. He growling glared at Naruto, who was smirking at him for some reason. He then noticed that Kakashi was now beside the brat with wide eyes. He, wondering why, gained wide eyes, suddenly sensing a buildup of chakra. Looking around, he didn't see anything. He then, looking down, gained wide eyes, spotting 6 clones glowing with chakra. He cursed when he heard Naruto say, "Great exploding clone jutsu." He was then launched backwards from the explosion. He, flipping over, was literally steaming mad. He started going through hand signs and was shocked when Naruto and Kakashi both started going through their own hand signs. He, finishing his, cried out, "Water style, water dragon jutsu." His jaw dropped when he heard Kakashi cry out, "Water style, water dragon jutsu." He blanched when he heard Naruto cry out, "Water style, water shark bomb jutsu." 2 water dragons were dueling, when suddenly a huge shark made of water blasted through both water dragons and rocketed towards Zabuza. Zabuza, getting hit by the water shark, cursed and screamed when his back collided with the trunk of a tree. Kakashi, appearing in front of him, smiled and was about to finish him when 3 senbon pierced his neck. A hunter nin appeared, thanked Team 7 for their help, then vanished. Kakashi, lowering his headband, walked 2 steps before he collapsed. Naruto, shaking his head, walked over to the man and put the man's arm around him and asked, "Tazuna, is your house near?" Tazuna, nodding, lead Team 7 to his home. Naruto, carrying Kakashi into the room Tsunami suggested, laid the man in the bed, and then got into a bed himself as he was more tired than he thought. He would wake up the next morning to find Kakashi looking at him with interest. He, turning his head, rolled his eyes, spotting Sasuke glaring at him with jealous eyes and Sakura just plain out glaring at him. He, sitting up, asked, "So when do we start training, because you and I both know that isn't the last we've seen of Zabuza?" Kakashi, eyes smiling at Naruto and ignoring the wide eyes of his other 2 students, said, "I was waiting for you to wake up so that we could start our training. Come on." Naruto, nodding, got up and followed Kakashi into the woods surrounding Tazuna's home. Getting to some trees, Kakashi explained what they were about to do. Naruto, blinking, asked, "Is there anything else you're going to teach us, sensei, because I already know tree walking," and started on the water walking exercise. In order to do the water shark bomb jutsu, I had to have good chakra control. Kakashi, hearing this, smiled and said, "Please show me that you can do them." Naruto, nodding, ran up to the nearest tree and ran up it with ease, reaching the top and flipping off with ease. Landing in front of the seething Sasuke, he asked, "Is that enough proof, sensei?" Kakashi, nodding, said, "Yes, it is." "Well then, since you've got that down, I'll get you some training." He then reached into his pocket and pulled out a sheet of paper. He, seeing the looks in their eyes, explained what the paper was and how it worked. He demonstrated and revealed that he had a dual affinity for lightning and fire. He then handed the paper to Naruto and informed Naruto what to do. Naruto, doing as he was told, pushed a little chakra into the paper and was shocked when it did several things. First, it split into 7 different pieces. The first 5 were normal elemental affinities. The 6th piece turned into the shape of a snarling wolf and even howled. The 7th piece turned into miniature storm, with rain, thunder, wind, and lightning. Naruto, looking up at the shocked Kakashi, asked, "Okay, I get the first 5, meaning I have an affinity to all 5 of the basic elements, but I have no idea about the last two. Kakashi, shaking his head himself, said, I'm just as confused as you are, Naruto, but I can help you with all 5 of the main affinities. We'll start with fire and lightning, and define water. Then we'll move to earth and wind. Naruto, nodding, did as Kakashi instructed, ignoring the heavy scowl on Sasuke's face, and the glare Sakura was sending him. 5 hours later and Naruto was glaring at leaf that would not split. He had already mastered the fire, lightning, water, and earth manipulation practice that Kakashi had given him, but the damn wind one was giving him problems. Kakashi had even given Naruto a few jutsu in all of the elements he had mastered. He had already learned most of them, except the one Kakashi himself wanted to teach him, the lightning blade or something like that. He sighing again as Kakashi had gone to check on Sasuke and Sakura. Speaking of that got him back to thinking about his life choices, mainly his stupid crush on Sakura. He, closing his eyes, really thought about why he had even liked Sakura and could only come up with one reason. The first day they had met, she was a nice shy girl that didn't instantly call him a monster or beat on him like the rest of the kids did. After that day she became like the rest, and he had been trying to get her to go back to how she was. Sighing, he laid back in the clearing and decided that he was pushing women out of his mind and focusing on his shinobi career. Nodding to himself, he went back to his leaf. Later that day, when he managed to drag himself back into Tazuna's home, he noticed that Sasuke was face down on the table and Sakura looked like she hadn't done a thing. Sighing, he helped himself to a plate of Tsunami's food. Smiling at how delicious it was, he complimented her on it. Once done with the dinner, he was about to excuse himself, when his ears picked up the sound of someone singing. It sounded like a lullaby, and for some reason he felt compelled to find the source of the music. Shaking his head, he put some earplugs in his ears and went to his room and went to sleep. 2 days later and Naruto was standing beside Tazuna as the man was told by a worker that he was quitting. Naruto, sighing, asked, Tazuna-san, how many workers do you need? Tazuna, sighing, said, about 350, why brat? Naruto, crossing his fingers, cried out, multi-shadow clone jutsu. A huge poof of smoke occurred, and when it cleared, over 500 Narutos could be seen standing. Naruto, nodding, said, here you are, 500 workers. Show them what to do and they'll get to work. Each one of them can make clones, so don't worry about tiring them out. Also, some of them are most likely going to make some clones and help the villagers out. He then walked over to the nearest tree and leaned against it, ignoring the gobsmacked look on Tazuna's face. About an hour later he opened his eyes, smelling the smoke from tobacco, flowers, deer and food. He could also smell sword polish and medicine. This was most likely the backup Kakashi had sent for. He, standing up, moved to the bridge and blinked, spotting Team 10 with a sickly-looking man. He, walking towards them, asked, you guys are the backup? Shikamaru, sighing, said, yes we are. Why are you the only one guarding Tazuna-san? Naruto, sighing himself, said, because I'm a one-man army and because Sakura refuses to train without Kakashi looking over her shoulder the entire time. He then, gaining a serious look on his face, explained everything to Asuma and Hayate. Asuma, hearing this, said, alright, thanks for the briefing, and since I'm a wind user myself, why don't I help you with the leaf exercise? Naruto, hearing this, smiled and said, thank you Asuma-sensei, I would be honored. Asuma, giving Team 10 their jobs, then sat down and explained wind chakra to Naruto. Naruto, after hearing the explanation, did split the leaf in one try, but creating some clones, decided to do it until he mastered it. When he finally dragged himself into Tazuna's home, he smiled at Tsunami, and thanked her for once again fixing a delicious meal. The dinner was going fine, until Inari, Tazuna's grandson, started shooting off at the mouth about how none of them knew anything about suffering and that they were all just wasting their time. Something in Naruto just snapped and he quickly told the little brat off. He informed Inari of Sasuke's life, Kakashi's life, and finally his own life. His final words were that someone always has it worse than you do. He then stormed out of the house, ignoring the tears flowing from Ino's eyes and the rage in Asuma's, Hayate's, Shikamaru's, Choji's, Kakashi's and Tazuna's eyes. He was sitting in the clearing he had been training in all week, when once again his ears picked up the sound of someone singing a lullaby. This time his eyes glossed over, and like he was in a trance he started to follow the sound of the voice. He didn't even notice when he started to walk over a very large, very deep body of water. He didn't even notice when he walked through a whirlpool and into some destroyed village. He just kept walling until he marched right into the eye of a powerful storm. He finally regained control over his body. Shaking his head, he gained wide eyes, spotting 3 beautiful women standing in front of him. The one that was still singing had long flowing silver hair tied into a top knot. She had kind purple eyes and perfect fair skin. She had the perfect hourglass figure that was wrapped in a high-collared kimono that was as black as the night. The next woman had short, spiky red hair, dark brown skin, and orange glowing eyes. She also had the perfect hourglass figure, but she wasn't wearing a kimono. No, she had on a pair of black jeans that looked like they had seen better days. A red t-shirt with the image of a smirking sun on it. She also had on a pair of black and red high-top Air Force Ones. Around her waist was a golden belt with the insignia for flames on it. The last of the 3 women had shoulder-length dark purple hair, pale skin, and dark blue eyes. She, like the other 2, had the perfect hourglass figure, and like the first was wrapped in a light gray and yellow kimono. The first woman ending her singing turned to Naruto and smiled. The third woman was also smiling at him, while the second woman simply smirked at him. He, looking around, finally noticed his surroundings. He was about to flip out when the third woman said, "Welcome, Naruto, to the former home of your mother and home of your ancestors. This is the land of the swirling tides, and where I and my 2 sisters grew up at." Naruto, hearing this, blinked and asked, "Who are you, lady?" She, smiling, said, "I am Susanoo, but the mortal world knows me as Uzumaki Kushina. That is also what Konoha knows me. Truly, I am the goddess of the storms and one of the celestial trio. The title I'm most proud of, though, is your mother." Naruto blinked, hearing this, and narrowed his eyes. He, growling, said, "If you're my mother, then tell me something only she would know." Susanoo, giggling, said, "Those whisker marks aren't your birthmarks. Your real birthmark is the black lightning mark in the corner of your right hand, along with the purple crescent moon on the center of your left hand." Naruto blinked, hearing this, and said, "Okay, you're legit, as the only other person who knows about those is a Yamane, and the old man." Susanoo, giggling, opened her arms, asked, "Can mama have a hug from her precious baby boy?" Naruto, sighing, walked into the hug, and instantly regretted it as he was being squeezed to death by his mom. He, trying to break free and stop himself from turning blue, cried out, "Sweet baby Jesus, I can't breathe. I now know how that damn demon cat feels." He was then let go, and he started to suck in air, like a vacuum. Shaking his head, he turned to the first woman and asked, "Okay, who the hell are you?" She, giggling, said, "I am your aunt and goddess of the moon, Tsukuyomi, but you can call me auntie or awesome." Naruto's sweat dropped at this and turned to the second woman, who yawned and said, "I'm Amaterasu, goddess of the sun, and your aunt." Naruto, hearing this, felt the sweat drop get bigger. Shaking his head, he asked, "Okay, now that I know that, why am I here?" Susanoo, smiling, said, "It's time we unlocked your true potential and inform you of not only your powers but your royal status." Naruto blinked, hearing this, and asked, "What powers? What royal status? What true potential?" Tsukuyomi, giggling, said, "You, my nephew, are the crowned prince of the very heavens. The moon guides your every movement and empowers you. The might of the sun flows through your body, as you wield the unique ability to use the very power of the sun. Born from the union of the storm and a noble man, with ties to the powerful Senju clan." Naruto's eyes were wide, hearing this. Amaterasu, picking up from there, said, "You have the power of the wolf buried inside of you, just waiting to come out. This comes from Tsukuyomi, as wolves are very heavily tied to the moon. You also have my own bloodline called Supernova Release. This basically makes your fire attacks 10 times more powerful than before. You can also make attacks that equal the power of the sun. You also gained diamond hard skin from me, as a gift when you were born." Naruto's jaw was wide open. Susanoo then said, "You have the true storm release, meaning you actually create storms instead of wimpy laser lights like those people from Kumo. You can also create lightning of different colors and intensities, along with winds of different nature, and rain of different style. You also gained super strength and super speed from me. Because of you having the Kyuubi sealed into you by the Shinigami, you have also gained a powerful alignment for the demonic arts, and the dream of every swordsman alive. A weapon made of your very soul. From your father you gained the legendary Swift Release and the Hirishin no Jutsu. Kami herself has decided to give you the Chaos Release, which has different uses, and was only ever used by the legendary immortal Shadow the Hedgehog. Naruto's jaw was now touching the floor. Tsukuyomi then said, as you have already seen, you have a strong alignment with the 5 basic elemental affinities. This is so that you can recreate every single supposed bloodline jutsu, including the Mokuton. Most of these will unlock when you transform into your wolf form. By the way, you'll have a full wolf form, half wolf form, which is called werewolf or lichen, and partial forms. The first time you transform into any of the wolf forms will hurt like nothing you've ever felt before. Oh, by the way, you'll become very territorial. Oh, and my birthday present to you is a summoning contract of any being at any point. Naruto's jaw was now buried in the ground. Amaterasu, shaking her head, said, my present to you is a new outfit. Anyway, you'll also be getting a scroll with in-depth details of the millions of Uzumaki jutsu, including Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, Genjutsu, Kinjutsu, Fuinjutsu, and Iryujutsu. Your stuff as we speak is getting moved into your new home, which is a palace fit for a king. It's where the old Uchiha compound used to be. Oh, and I got you a pet, that I think you're going to like. Susanoo, ignoring Naruto's jaw going deeper into the ground, said, as for your true potential being unlocked, well, that's the other reason the 3 of us are here. It's time to retrain you from the bottom up. Yes, that includes manners and fashion. Naruto closed his mouth hearing this and took a step back in fear. He then blanched when Tsukuyomi started to cackle as she said, we start with that hideous orange monstrosity you are wearing, followed by your choice in females. He took another step back in fear when the other 2 joined in the evil laughter. He didn't know it, but inside of the seal on his stomach the Kyuubi was already praying for its container's soul, as the looks on their faces could and would terrify Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. 2 days later, Naruto was rushing towards the bridge, after saving Tsunami and Inari from some punks Gato had sent to kidnap them. He was pushing himself as fast as he could go, hoping to make it in time to save his comrades. Landing on the bridge, he rolled his eyes, spotting the thick mist all around him. Ignoring this, he ran towards where he felt Sasuke's and Hayate's chakra signatures. Arriving outside of a dome made of ice mirrors, he peeked inside and gasped, spotting both Sasuke and Hayate littered with needles. His eyes widened even more when Hayate sacrificed himself for Sasuke, who was shaking in fear. Rushing in, he deflected all the senbon, and said, Oi teme, snap out of it. Sasuke, hearing Naruto's voice, looked up and gasped, spotting him inside of the dome. Naruto, getting back to back with Sasuke, said, we worked together on this one, Sasuke. Sasuke, nodding, started to attack the mirrors with Naruto's help. Sasuke still ended up being knocked out, leaving just Naruto. Naruto, scowling, said, well shit. I guess it's time to reveal the power of the sun. He, jumping high into the air, actually breaking free of the dome, gathered fire chakra into his hand. Closing his eyes, he focused on the ice dome and started to push some of his supernova chakra into the hand. Opening his eyes, he made a fireball the size of baseball appear in his hand. He, rearing back with it, cried out, supernova style, intensity. He then tossed the fireball into the ice dome and crushed his hand. It worked just like he planned. The user of the ice mirrors was blasted out of the dome. As it melted, 3rd-degree burns all over the person's body. Sasuke and the body of Hayate were just fine. Naruto, then landing, rushed towards the badly burned person and, appearing in front of the person, said, forgive me. Hado number 4 Byakurai. The person never even had the chance to scream as from Naruto's fingertips a pale blast of lightning pierced the head, the brain, and came out the other side. Naruto, ignoring the bile rising to his throat, rushed towards Kakashi's fight. He arrived just in time for both Kakashi and Asuma to jump back. He, landing in front of them, looked them over and frowned, spotting the damage both men had taken. Shaking his head, he focused on the mist, knowing that Zabuza was in there. He then heard, well, if it isn't the brat from before. Now that you're here, my apprentice can stop playing with the duck butt. Naruto, snorting, said, I hate to inform you of this, but your apprentice is dead, by my own hands. He heard an arrogant laugh and Zabuza say, ha, as if brat. I trained him myself, and he could beat me if he tried. Naruto, rolling his eyes as he had finally found the man, said, well, you ask him yourself once you join him. Pushing lightning chakra into his hand, he cried out, lightning style, hungry wolf jutsu. The jutsu launched into the mist, and seconds later a loud pain-filled scream could be heard. The mist then slowly cleared out and Kakashi and Asuma were shocked. Barely standing not feet from them was Zabuza clutching his right side that was still sparking with lightning. Turning they gasped spotting the body of Zabuza's apprentice and Hayate. Sasuke was on the ground knocked out if the breathing was anything to go by. Zabuza growling said, "You damn brat. That's twice I've lost to you." Naruto once again ignoring the bile in his throat said, "That's right, as I will not allow anyone to hurt my comrades or my team." Died demon of the hidden mist. Zabuza was about to growl out something when clapping could be heard. All eyes turned to the end of the bridge. Standing there was short man in a business suit with a cane in his right hand, and a smug smirk on his face. This was Gato and behind him was an army of thugs. He laughing said, "Well, it looks like arrived at the right time. Now my thugs can kill the men and I can have my way with the blonde girl and maybe the pink-haired thing, if it behaves." Naruto hearing this for some reason felt some anger boil in him. Gato looking at the dead body of Hayate, and Haku laughed and said, "Stupid shinobi thinking that you're important. I bet you that I could probably take the pale one's corpse and fetch a good chunk of money. I wonder if he has any significant others. If so I can make them think that I'm going to give the body to them, and then kidnap and make them my little whore." Naruto hearing this actually heard himself growl. Gato turning to Tazuna who was being guarded by Shikamaru, Choji, Sakura and Ino said, "After the shinobi are dead, I'll have my thugs bring me your little family. I'll kill the little brat first, then I'll let my men have their way with that slut for a daughter you have Tazuna, before I chop her head off, and kill you." He then started to laugh very loudly. Naruto now growling very loudly, could feel something primal, something feral, something powerful trying to break free. Gato then sealed his fate when he said, "You know I think I'll agree to what that strange snake man planned. Once I'm done here I'll start kidnapping people from the village hidden in the leaves, keep them for a couple of days, have my way with the women, and then sell both the men and women. Unless the woman catches my eyes, then I'll just make her my whore." In Naruto's mind when Gato said this, Naruto instantly pictured Ayame being raped by this pig of a man. That was the final push Naruto needed. Naruto stopped growling and screamed in pain, as his body started to burn up. He hadn't noticed how all eyes were drawn to him now. Everyone gained wide eyes when his body started going through a change. First he shot up in height from his short 4.9 to a staggering 7.3 feet tall. His body then started to gain muscle and his hands gained thick claws. His human ears vanished and were replaced by large wolf ears. His clear blue eyes turned into glowing gold orbs. His face changed to resemble a wolf's head. His hair turned silver and it quickly spread across his body. From his rear a thick bushy silver wolf tail appeared. Finally he dropped down to all fours. The now wolf Naruto was standing there snarling at Gato. Gato now afraid said, "First person to kill that thing gets to go first with the blonde girl." The thugs hearing this cheered and charged forward. Wolf Naruto seeing this, let loose a sonic howl that could be heard around the elemental nations. He then blurred forward, and the next thing anyone knew, the thugs were being ripped apart, literally. One thug landed in front of Kakashi, missing the lower half of his body, with wide open dead eyes. Ino, Sakura, Shikamaru, Choji, and Tazuna had to turn away as the scene was too gruesome for their weak stomachs. Asuma and Kakashi on the other hand watched the entire thing with mild fascination. Pretty soon the still wolf Naruto was now slowly walking towards the petrified Gato, his silver fur coated in the blood of his enemies. Gato falling on his ass, was trembling in pure fear as the wolf had literally tore through over 1,000 hired thugs and it was now stalking its way towards him. He then felt air being blown on him and something wet drop on his head. He looking up blanched as the wolf was now hovering right over him, its mouth agape revealing rows upon rows of sharp deadly teeth already coated in the blood of its victims. Gato then looked into the eyes of the wolf, and felt utter dread fill his soul, as the golden orbs were showing his death many different ways. Before he could even make a plea for his life, the jaws snapped down on his head, and with a loud crunch Gato was dead. The wolf then consumed Gato's entire body, and then started to eat the rest of the thugs. This is what made Asuma and Kakashi turn away. After the sound of bones being crunched, and the pained moans of the one still somewhat alive died down, everyone turned back around, and instantly sweat dropped spotting Naruto standing there once again human, but sleeping while standing up. It was at this moment that the villagers arrived ready to fight. Kakashi shaking his head walked over to Naruto and picked the boy up noticing that his hair was now silver with some patches of red mixed in along with blonde. Carrying Naruto, he thought, Konoha's blood wolf, has a nice catch to it. I wonder if whoever was watching is going to give Naruto that name. He then noticed that Asuma was carrying the body of Hayate, while Shikamaru and Choji with one arm slung around him were carrying Sasuke. He noticed that Sakura was trying to boss the two boys around. He was wondering where Ino was until he spotted her behind him, with a very worried look in her eyes, as she looked at Naruto. This made him smile as Naruto had gained her attention. Naruto would wake 2 days later feeling 10 times better than he had ever felt. He sitting up yawned, revealing his mouth full of pearly white teeth and larger canine teeth. He scratching the side of his face, wondered why he was so full. Shrugging he then looked at his right hand and gained wide eyes spotting his birthmark on display. It had changed though, as before it was just a small mark at the corner of his hand. Now it was a large black lightning-shaped mark starting at the tip of his pointer finger and encircling his entire right hand. He could even see words inside of his birthmark. He narrowing his eyes could make out the words calm the storm. Shaking his head, he looked at his other hand and nearly choked as he had a full-on bloody moon on his left hand. It took up the entire back of his hand. The moon was a plum purple, and Naruto swore he could see stars around it. Shaking his head he read the words in it also and could barely make out the words Heavenly Wolf of the All-Lunar Fang clan. Shaking his head, he then heard the sound of someone approaching the door. Turning his head he watched as the door opened and in came Ino carrying a tray of downright drool-worthy smelling food. Ino not noticing that he was awake said, "Stupid forehead trying to keep the food Tsunami-san made for Naru-kun. She's lucky Asuma-sensei told me not to put her into a state of mental shutdown." She shaking her head smiled and said, "Oh well, it's time to feed my knight in shining armor." She then blinked spotting Naruto's gold and sapphire orbs staring at her with slight interest. Her face then lit up like a Christmas tree, as she stuttered out, "NN Naruto-kun, you're awake now." Naruto smiling nodded and said, "That I am Ino." His eyes then moving to the food asked, "Is all that for me?" Ino still with the blush on her face nodded and said, "Yeah, Tsunami-san made this for you, and she's been doing so since we got back from the bridge. I've been feeding you every meal that she fixes." Naruto smiling said, "Thank you very much Ino-chan. I don't mind if you feed me now if you want to." Ino nodding very quickly started to feed Naruto the food, never noticing the smirking Susanoo looking through the window. After he was finished being fed, Naruto stood up and stretched never noticing that he gained lots of muscle and was now shirtless. Ino noticed though and was instantly reduced to a drooling and blushing mess. Naruto finishing his stretching blinked spotting Ino's state. Shrugging he walked out of the room and into the nearest bathroom. He blinking spotting himself in the mirror. He now had long silver hair that looked to have been styled and with splashes of red and blonde. His right eye was golden like his wolf form, while his left eye was the same blue it always was. He could see that he finally had the muscles he worked so hard for. Hell, he could see that his scars were gone. Even his whisker marks were gone. What replaced them was the black shading under each eye. He opening his mouth blinked spotting his now much larger teeth. Hell, he was sure his canine teeth could be considered fangs now. Shaking his head, used the bathroom noticing that his Johnson was bigger. Washing his hands he figured it was because of his transformation. Walking out of the bathroom, he walked back into the room, and put on the shirt the still crimson Ino handed to him. Once having a shirt on, he made Ino wait outside so he could change pants. Opening the door, he walked out in his new attire. He had on a black shirt that was tied against his muscles, and a pair of black pants that went well with his shirt. Ino still blushing turned around and led Naruto down the stairs. Naruto reaching the bottom of the stairs rolled his eyes spotting Sakura pestering Kakashi to give Sasuke something. He then spotted said emo brooding by the window. Shaking his head he coughed into his hands, alerting the house of his presence. He ignoring the glare from Sakura, and the grunt from Sasuke smiled at everyone else and asked, "So how is everyone doing?" He was surprised when Inari glomped him and said, "Big brother Naruto, you're finally awake." Naruto smiling said, "Of course I'm awake, Inari. I'm the hero after all." He then heard Tazuna laugh and said, "I have to agree with the brat here. He is the hero." Tsunami shaking her head said, "Welcome back to the realm of consciousness, Naruto-kun." Kakashi eyes smiling tossed him a scroll and said, "There you go, spoils of battle." Shikamaru just mumbled something about troublesome people. Choji smiled and handed him a bag of chips. Asuma smiling nodded at him. He then asked, "So is the bridge finished?" Tazuna smiling brightly said, "Oh yeah, the bridge is finished, brat, and it's even been named." Naruto smiling asked, "Really, what you name it?" Inari smiling said, "The Great Naruto Bridge." Naruto blinked at this and smiled brightly and said, "Well damn, already got a bridge named after me." Kakashi eyes smiling again said, "Well then, since you're awake, let's get back to the village before the Hokage sends any more backup." Naruto nodding said, "Sure sensei, let's get back to the village so I can get some ramen and take the hat from the old man." Asuma started laughing at this, knowing good and well what Naruto was talking about. The two teens, after saying goodbye, the villagers of Wave were making their way back to Konoha, Naruto informing Ino that she should stop her silly diet and eat more, because anything she eats will just be sweated off during training, which he was also telling her she should take more seriously. Shikamaru was still mumbling about troublesome people. Choji was happily munching on his chips. Asuma was smoking and smiling at what Naruto was telling Ino. Sakura was trying to get Sasuke to agree to a date with her. Sasuke was ignoring her. Kakashi was reading his book, ignoring everything else in the world. Ino herself was listening to Naruto's every word, paying close attention to his eyes. She couldn't help but get lost in his different colored eyes. They were about halfway to the village, when Naruto's senses started going wild. He, wondering why, stilled and let out a low growl. Ino, spotting this, got worried, and wondered why he had did that, until two groups of Anbo appeared in front of the group. The leader of the two groups, a woman with purple hair, bowed and said, "Namikaze-sama." Naruto blinked hearing this and asked, "Who are you talking to?" The woman, still bowed down, said, "I speak to you, Namikaze-sama. You are Prince Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, heir of the Namikaze and Uzumaki clan. Prince of not only the lost fallen Whirlpool country, but of the very heavens itself." Lady Amaterasu informed the village of this 2 days after Team 10 left for Wave. Lady Tsukuyomi commanded the civilian council and most of the village start making up for what they did to you, or she was going to ensnare the entire village in an endless nightmare. Lady Susanoo has threatened to bring down an eternal storm down on the village if we don't start apologizing for our mistakes. Naruto, hearing this, face palmed and said, "Of course my troublesome family would do that." He then smirked and said, "Guess I'm gonna have to remind the village just why it's a very bad idea to start treating me like a prince." Kakashi, recognizing the smirk on his face, paled and asked, "You aren't gonna do what I think you're gonna do, are you?" Naruto started to cackle for his response. Kakashi quickly put his book away and pulled out every ounce of money he had on him. Handing it to Naruto, he asked, "Is this enough to keep me safe from your wrath?" Naruto, with an insane gleam in his eyes, said, "None will be safe. No amount of money will exempt you from my sights." He then, turning to Ino, walked up to her, leaned forward like he was gonna kiss her, making Ino close her eyes with a blush on her face. Naruto then switched places with Sakura and pushed the pink-haired girl forward, causing the two girls to kiss. He then, cackling with glee, said, "That's Ino-chan down." He then vanished and Sasuke screamed very loudly. The reason why? Well, a tree branch was giving him an atomic wedgie. Naruto, appearing on the branch, cackled and said, "Teme is down." Kakashi, with wide eyes, took off running, heading towards the village hidden in the leaves. Asuma, quickly realizing what Kakashi had been so terrified of, started running as fast as he could towards the village, intent on getting to the nearest bomb shelter and camping out for the next few days. Choji and Shikamaru figured it out seconds later, yet it was too late for them. Shikamaru was soon strung up by his feet, spray-painted pink, yellow and blue, covered in chocolate, surrounded by the nagging voice of his mother. Choji was put in a deep hole and stripped of all his food and pills. He also had seals placed on him, blocking his access to his chakra. Naruto, appearing again, started to cackle with insane glee as he said, "Here I come. Konoha the prank king from hell will make you pray to Kami to save you." The cat-masked Anbu hearing this quickly vanished in a leaf shushin, not wanting to be caught in one of his pranks. She knew her comrades had done the same. Sarutobi Hiruzen inside of the village in the Hokage Tower suddenly shivered as if some great evil had just been unleashed on the village. He quickly tried coming up with a source for this evil and was drawing up blanks until he looked down at a sheet of paper marked important by the council. He looking it over turned as white as snow, because it was the paperwork to make one Uzumaki Naruto join the CRA and naming him a prince. Sarutobi standing up quickly flared his chakra and shouted for all of the village to hear, "Run and hide, fools. The prank king from hell has been unleashed and this time he cannot be bribed. I repeat, the prank king is back with a fury. None are safe." He wasn't surprised when the entire village broke out in a mass panic as Naruto's pranks were both famous, yet infamous. Before he was easily bribed not to prank someone, but with this announcement all hell was breaking loose. He then heard a scream in this distance. It was the sound of, "No. Not my ICHA, you monster, how could you burn every single book? Oh wait, there's one left." He knew this was Kakashi and was praying the man wasn't stupid enough to open the book. Sadly, he was wrong when Kakashi screamed, "Ah, my eyes. It burns. The horror, the horror." He then assumed a scream out, "Not my cigarettes." A loud explosion could then be heard. He turning around closed the door and put a seal on it to keep people out and him in. He then took an extra precaution by hiding in the Hokage vault. He pulling out his own copy of Icha, said, "I only hope that this doesn't last long." 5 days later and Naruto could be seen sitting on top of one of the training posts at Training Ground 7 picking his teeth. He was of course the first one to the training ground as the others were most likely still trying to recover from his pranks. Hell, he was pretty sure the entire village was still trying to recover from his 5-day prank spree. He had gotten everyone in the village at least twice. Sakura he had pranked her 20 times, the last one making her kiss the business end of a goat thinking that it was Sasuke. Said boy he had pranked 10 times before he smarted up and stayed inside of his little home. The last prank that Naruto had gotten him with had dyed the boy's hair bright pink. His pranks on Ino were harmless as the first time he had made her kiss Sakura. The second and last time he had made her play ninja with Konohamaru all day. Kakashi he had pranked 15 times, the last one forcing the man to witness the horrible sunset genjutsu. He had also gone easy on Ayame and Tuchi. He had made Ayame eat a bowl of spicy ramen, and made her admit to still having a teddy bear. Tuchi he had made the man wear a yellow bikini and tinted his teeth green. Iruka he had basically made admit being a pervert twice around multiple powerful kunoichi. Don't get him wrong though, he didn't spend all of the last 5 days pranking people. No, he had worked on his bloodlines, and transforming into his wolf form. So far he could do a wolf form for the main 5 elements, Shinranten, Mokuton, Supernova, and Maiden. He had also mastered all of the jutsu Kakashi had given him to the point that he didn't need to use any hand signs. He had also taken to using Zabuza's sword as his own, and right now he was both wearing weights and gravity seals to help him get stronger. He had said sword on his back, with gravity seals on it to make it heavier, along with some original Uzumaki seals, and few seals he created of his own. Like one seal that allowed him to summon the sword no matter how far apart they be. Another had amplified the fact that the sword was somewhat alive. All he had to do now was place a soul inside of it and see how it would react. Of course he had a seal for that too. His favorite seal though was the one that allowed him to harness the very power of the moon through the blade and attack with it. Naruto was about to yawn, when Sakura arrived with her hair still having faint traces of dark green paint in it. From the look of her eyes she was very upset. His eyes moving to the arriving Sasuke gained a hint of glee, spotting that Sasuke's hair was still dyed bright pink and looked like it wasn't coming out. Kakashi then appeared once again reading his porn. Kakashi spotting the sword on Naruto's back eyes smiled and asked, "You're gonna use it?" Naruto hopping down from the training post smiled and said, "Yeah, it and 3 others." Kakashi hearing this blinked and asked, "4 swords, seems ambitious." Naruto gaining a deadpan look says the man boasting about having copied over 1,000 jutsu. Kakashi holding up his hands said, "Good point." He then eyes smiling said, "Alright team, after our mission I decided to seriously start training you 3. If it weren't for Naruto, the late Hayate and Team 10, we could all be dead or worse in Sakura's case. He then, putting away his book, said, "Alright, get ready because here it comes." He then created 2 clones of himself and sent the other 2 with Sasuke and Sakura. The real Kakashi lifted up his headband to reveal his Sharingan. He, pulling out a single kunai, dropped into a ready stance and said, "Alright Naruto, let's see how good you've gotten with your bloodlines and that sword." Naruto, putting his hand on the handle of said sword, closed his eyes and said, "Don't hold back, sensei." He then drew the sword and vanished. Kakashi, barely able to keep up with Naruto, blocked a heavy swing from Naruto. He, grunting in effort, said, "You're gotten really good with that sword, Naruto. You even increased your speed." He then, leaping backwards, rushed through hand signs and cried out, "Fire style! Great fireball jutsu!" Naruto, spotting the fireball coming, swung the sword and said, "Kenjutsu, backlash wave." Kakashi's eyes widened when his fireball was sent soaring back at him with even more power. He, replacing himself with a log, dashed towards Naruto with 2 kunai. Naruto, spotting this, flipped his sword over and held in front of him. Closing his eyes, he said, "Tasuki Genjutsu, lunar cycle." Kakashi, looking at the blade, was soon transported to a desolate training field at night. He, looking around, spotted something in the sky. Looking up, his eyes widened, spotting 10 purple moons shining in the night sky. He then felt something nick his arm. Using the power of his Sharingan to dispel the illusion, blinked, spotting the small slash on his arm. Jumping back, he started looking for Naruto. His eyes widened when Naruto appeared beside him in mid-swing. Replacing himself quickly with a log. He flinched when the log was shredded. Going through hand signs, cried out, "Lightning style, lightning hound jutsu." Naruto, spotting the hound, blinked and cried out, "True storm style, storm dragon jutsu." Kakashi felt his eyes widen when from the very air a dragon made of the elements of the storm appeared and destroyed not only his lightning hound but a good portion of the training ground. Kakashi then cursed when he heard Naruto cry out, "Mokuton, hand of nature jutsu." He, jumping into the air, gasped, spotting a fully formed wooden hand burst from the ground where he had been standing. He was even more shocked when the hand gained flowers and vines. He then ducked when Naruto's new sword flew over his head. Hearing something fall behind him, he turned his head and sweat dropped, spotting a few trees on the ground from the sword that was lodged into the ground. He, turning back, lifted his hand just in time to catch a punch from Naruto. Kakashi grunted in effort, feeling the power and weight in Naruto's punch. He and Naruto then engaged in a deadly taijutsu battle that he was barely winning. Naruto then, back-flipping away from him, landed on his feet and lifted his right hand. Kakashi felt his eyes widen when Kabikirabocho appeared in Naruto's right hand. Spotting the glowing seals on the sword, he cursed at the fact that Naruto was smart enough to do something like that. He blinked though when Naruto tossed it into the air. Naruto, clapping his hands together, closed his eyes and started speaking in a language Kakashi had never heard before. Naruto then opened his eyes and Kakashi gasped, spotting what looked like the Sharingan in his eyes. He cursed even louder when Naruto wolfed out on him. Naruto's fur was a dark green with light brown streaks around his muzzle. Naruto then shocked him by catching the Kabikiraboncho in his hand. He felt the blood drain from his face when the sword bulked up and the edge became serrated. Naruto, smirking, then dashed forward and Kakashi cursed more when a deep slash appeared on his arm. Jumping into the air, he cried out, "Earth style, mud bullet jutsu." Naruto, spotting the mud bullet sailing towards him, growled and roared out, "Mokuton, lock of nature's hair." Kakashi felt his eyes widen when a thick group of vines and flowers appeared and blocked his attack. Naruto, dropping down to all fours, dashed forward until he was directly underneath Kakashi. He then, standing up, tossed his sword up and howled out, "Mokuton, Yoko death plant." Kakashi, dodging the sword, replaced himself with the nearest log and shid himself, spotting the monstrous plant that had appeared where he had been. The plant was purple and white, was the size of an oak tree and had large glistening teeth. Hell, it even had baleful golden eyes. Naruto, allowing Kubariki Bancho to fall into the ground, shifted from Mokuton wolf to his true storm release wolf form. This made his fur change from dark green to a stormy gray. It also started to look slight wet, yet winded. Naruto, locking his eyes on Kakashi, howled out, "True storm release, Susanoo's wrath. Kakashi felt his eyes widen even more when a gigantic storm spread out over the village hidden in the leaves and Naruto vanished. He, closing his eyes, tried to find Naruto's outrageous chakra reserves. This didn't work, as it was like Naruto had vanished without a trace. His chakra was nowhere to be found. Kakashi was then forced to double over in pain when a heavy punch was lodged into his gut. He was then lifted into the air when a kick to his chin forced him up. He then just managed to block a punch to his right side, but then had to duck to keep himself from being eaten by the plant Naruto had created earlier. A flash of lightning and Naruto became visible in front of him, crouched in a low stance, his wolf eyes locked on Kakashi's form. Honestly, this made him look like a hungry wolf ready to strike. Naruto then whispered, "Taijutsu. Stormwolf's Berserker Barrage." Kakashi, hearing this, instantly put his all into dodging or blocking the next attacks. Good thing he had, because Naruto would be trying to slash off his right arm 1 second, the next he would be trying to sever his corroded artery. Kakashi even had to jump to dodge a few of Naruto's attacks. Finally, it became too much for him when he lost the feeling in his right arm. He then called for the spar to end. The storm vanished and Naruto was once again human, his tongue hanging out of his mouth as he panted from exhaustion. Kakashi could see the many spots that he had managed to hit on Naruto, including the slightly broken right hand. Kakashi, eyes smiling, said, "Alright, since I just had a spar with all three of you, I can honestly say Naruto is at Jonin level or Sannin level. Sasuke is low Chunin level and Sakura is low Genin level. This means that if I am knocked out or killed, Naruto is to take over the role of leader and do his very best to make it out of the situation alive." He was about to say more when Sasuke, in pure anger, said, "There's no way the Dobi is more powerful than me. I am an Uchiha elite, he is a loser." Sakura quickly agreed as she said, "Yes, Sasuke-kun is the one at Jonin level or Sannin level, and the Baka is at low Genin level. I'm way better than him." Naruto, hearing this, rolled his eyes and said, "Sakura, Konohamaru and his little gang have more skill and power than you in their pinky fingers. I myself release more power than you." Yawning. Sakura, hearing this, turned brick red and ran towards Naruto to teach him a lesson, never noticing the smirk on Naruto's face. Sakura was an inch from him when Naruto cried out, "Tasuki no Ukami Genjutsu. Know your role jutsu. Lunar Wolf Illusion. Know your role jutsu." Sakura stopped and her eyes glazed over. 5 minutes later she gained a massive blush. Blood dripped from her nose and she flew back from a nosebleed, a massive perverted grin on her face. She, crashing into Sasuke, giggled, "Why yes, Sasuke-kun, I will do that with you. Yes, I'm your little slut." Kakashi, hearing this, sweat dropped and asked, "Do I even want to know what that genjutsu did to her?" Naruto, chuckling, said, "No you don't, sensei. Anyway, I'm off to replenish my energy. Maybe a ramen run, and while I'm there might as well visit my favorite ramen waitress." He then walked off, ignoring the even bigger sweat drop on Kakashi's head. Naruto could later be found walking aimlessly around the village as he wasn't allowed into the ramen stand for some reason. So here he was, hungry as hell, but couldn't eat his favorite meal. Sighing, he was about to give in and cook himself a meal at his new home, when his ears picked up the sound of something at the gate. He, walking over to the gate, gained wide eyes, spotting the purple-haired Anbu struggling to crawl through the gate, with cold dead eyes. His instincts picking up, he rushed towards her and lifted her into his arms. He then rushed towards the hospital. Entering there, he quickly got her some medical attention and sat down in the waiting room. An hour later he was dozing off, when he was shaken awake. Opening his eyes, he blinked, spotting Kurenai-sensei, along with Anko and Hana, standing in front of him. He, yawning, asked, "What's up?" Anko asked, "Are you the one who rushed our friend here?" Naruto, standing up, stretched even more, not noticing how the eyes of all three females traced his every movement. He then said, "Yeah, I found her at the gates all injured and rushed her here." He blinked when he was hugged by all three women as they said, "Thank you." Naruto, blinking, asked, "What for?" Hana, shaking her head, said, "You saved her life. If it weren't for you she'd be dead right now." Naruto, hearing this, gained wide eyes. He was about to ask a question when he heard a voice he was very familiar with say, "So I was right after all. She is trying to kill herself with all of these S-class missions." Naruto, turning his head, blinked, spotting the Hokage, and asked, "Old man, why would she be trying to kill herself?" Sarutobi sighing said, because her fiancé was killed on that mission you and Team 10 were on. Naruto hearing this blinked and was confused at first, until his eyes widened as he whispered out, Hayate-san. Sarutobi nodding said, hi. The two of them were very much in love and had planned on wedding in a month. Naruto hearing this scowled and said, another life affected by that damn mission. This time negatively. Naruto shaking his head turned to Sarutobi with serious eyes and asked, which room is she in as I plan on fixing this now? Sarutobi quirking an eyebrow said, room 309. Naruto nodding started walking towards her room. Once at the door he pushed it open and felt his eyes soften spotting her quietly sobbing mumbling, why Hayate? Why? Naruto pulling out Kubariki Bancho said, stop your crying fair maiden. I will reunite you and your lover for a solid day. Her eyes widened as she looked up at him. He slamming his blade into the floor turned it, wolfed out, unleashed a lot of chakra and howled out. Ayuzumaki Naruto hereby call in a favor from Shinigami. Bring forth Hayate Gecko. My body shall act as the anchor for his soul. Ayuzumaki Naruto son of the goddess of the storms, nephew of the goddess of the sun and the moon hereby grant Hayate Gecko one day in my body as I myself shall take on the form of a wolf. Use this day to give your lover peace of mind. He then pouring even more chakra out of his body howled even louder. This howl was so loud that all of Konoha could hear the howl. It was so loud it pierced the heavens. Yuago's eyes widened spotting Naruto's body starting to glow. Her jaw nearly scraped the floor when the astral form of Hayate appeared and sunk into Naruto's body. A blinding light occurred in the room and when it was gone, there was a silver wolf about the size of Naruto sitting down beside Naruto's body which now had its eyes closed. When the eyes opened, Yuago gasped spotting the eyes of her lover. Hayate trembling touched his face and said, this, how, impossible. The wolf then yawned attracting the attention of both people. It then laying down closed its eyes and said, I really need to learn the definition of that word. Otherwise I'll just keep doing impossible things. The wolf yawning again said, then again I'm Naruto motherfucking Uzumaki the prince of the very heavens. Now you two have one day to do what needs to be done. After that Shinigami-chan is coming back for your soul Hayate and I really don't feel like fighting her for your soul, especially since it's the Uchiha's fault you died. He then opening one of his eyes showed a big blue eye as he asked, do the both of you understand me? Both people nodded. Naruto hearing this closed his eye and said, good because I'm pooped. I'm going to sleep for the next day. Don't plan on moving an inch, so do me a favor and get me something to eat and bring it in front of this form. No hospital food thank you very much. Both people blinked when he was soon slumbering peacefully right where he door was then kicked down revealing Sarutobi, Yuago's friends and a slew of other shinobi all ready to do battle. Sarutobi spotting the wolf, Naruto, Hayate and Yuago looked to her and said, explain. Yuago nodding explained to Sarutobi what happened. Sarutobi hearing this face palmed and said, that's it I'm buying that boy a dictionary and making him look up the word impossible. I mean come on summoning a soul back from the dead just so that a couple could find closure, becoming the youngest person to ever be put in the bingo book and being the prince of the heavens. He then cried and said, I'm getting too old for this shit. The wolf Naruto snorting said, damn right you are. Now hand over the hat, the ramen, and Kurenaiheim and nobody has to get hurt you old goat. Everyone turned to look at him, not believing what he had just said, until they all realized that he was dreaming. Naruto then scratching his muzzle with one of his paws said, of course I'm rescuing you Kurenaiheim after all it's the Hokage's job to keep his people safe. That's doubly true when it comes to his Uber assistant who also happens to be his wife. He then giggling like a certain white-haired super pervert we all know and love said, oh Kurenaiheim I had no idea you was into food. That's right dribbled that ramen broth over those lovely breasts of yours. He then giggled again and went back to snoring. Sarutobi and Hayate had deep blushes on their faces and some blood dripping from their noses. Kurenai was trying to push down the blush from her face at the fact that the Prince of the Heavens was dreaming of her like that. Anko was giggling at the blackmail material she was getting on the blonde brat who dared switch her dango with Pocky. Hana was forcing herself not to jump the wolf that was admitting the aura of the alpha. Yuago just shook her head at this. A day later and Naruto was back in his body starving as no one had given him any food. He was then forced to attend a team training exercise along with do a few missions. Naruto was barely standing as he stumbled towards his home, ignoring the worried looks in everyone he passed face. He was nearly home when his ears picked up Konohamaru saying, "You'd better put me down before my awesome big brother comes and kicks your ass." He hearing a voice he didn't recognize snort and say, "Brat, your big brother is probably some wannabe loser who pretends to be a shinobi." His eyebrows started to twitch at this, but he heard Moegi say, "No way, Boss-kun is a prince, and trains super hard to be the best." The voice from before then said, "A prince so he's a spoiled brat who thinks the world owes him everything. I bet he doesn't even know what a kunai looks like." Naruto didn't know who this guy was, but he was really starting to piss him off. Udon then said, "Boss is not a spoiled brat, and he does so know what a kunai looks like. Boss has this awesome sword that he carried around always." The voice then crossed the line when he said, "So your boss is gay then? If he carries around his sword all the time, that mean he always has his hand on his Johnson and is always wanking off." Naruto turning around shifted into his supernova werewolf form and ran towards the location. When he was nearly there, he jumped into the air, let loose a bone-chilling howl, and swung down Kubarikibancho like the hammer of Thor. Landing, he nearly cleaved a boy dressed in a black catsuit, with something in bandages on his back. Naruto turning around started to growl very loudly at the boy who he could tell was shitting his pants. Naruto pointing the tip of his blade at the boy said, "You have 5 seconds to get your makeup wearing catsuit dressing. Puppet fucking ass out of my face before I rip you to pieces and have you for lunch." The boy hearing this quickly got up and ran as far as he could, leaving behind his shell-shocked blonde sister and the smirking academy students. Naruto turning to the tree growled out, "That goes for you to Tanuki. I don't give a damn about what you hold in you because 9 trumps 1 every day. Now get." The murderer's presence in the tree vanished very quickly with visible fear. Naruto then turning to the blonde was about to tell her to get when his eyes actually got a good look at her. He quickly lost his wolf form, shook his head clear, and then smiled what he hoped was a dazzling smile at the girl. He walking over to her gently grabbed her hand and kissed the back of it. He then looking her in the eyes said, "May I have the pleasure of learning the name of such a lovely young lady?" The girl with a red face turned her head and said, "Subaku Tamari." He hearing this, smiled more, and said, "Desert Rose, what a fitting name for such a beautiful flower." Tamari was now blushing very hard. Naruto then smiling more said, "I assume you are here for the Chunin exams that Konoha is hosting this year." Tamari could only blush, as Naruto still hadn't let go of her hand. He smiling let go of her hand and said, "I hope to see you there, my lovely Desert Rose." He then turning to the 3 academy students scowled and said, "You 3 get back to class." All 3 saluting him ran back to class. Suddenly Naruto's hunger hit him full force. He started to wobble where he stood, drawing the attention of everyone watching including the Jonin sensei who had been watching from the Hokage's office. Naruto steadying himself said, "Stupid hunger. I need to get home before I collapse of hunger." He then looking up at the sky whistled. A loud screech could be heard as a large white bird appeared. Naruto jumping on its back said, "Home Karara." The bird screeched and Naruto was soon riding home on his pet from his aunt. In the Hokage's office Sarutobi sweat dropped and asked, "Did anyone remember to actually feed him something yesterday?" Kuriani sweat dropped and looked towards the window whistling an innocent tune. Anko gained the most innocent look on her face, despite everyone knowing that it was anything but. Yuago hidden in the shadows started feeling really guilty as Naruto had allowed Hayate to use his body so she could get closure and she didn't even feed him. Kakashi flipping a page in his book said, "That would explain why he trapped Sasuke in his worst nightmare with a genjutsu and beat Sakura black and blue when I called them for team training today." Sarutobi flinched hearing this and asked, "Are the both of them alright?" Kakashi shrugging said, "Kakashi looks at Naruto with fear now. And Sakura refused to even go near him, but what do I know?" Everyone's sweat dropped hearing this and all thought, "Lazy bastard." 2 days later and Naruto was walking towards the academy to take the Chunin exams. In front of his face was a scroll about weapon forging. He was reading over the part about sword making. He reaching the academy without noticing walked inside, a fearful Sakura and an angry Sasuke right behind him. He ignoring the illusion on the second floor, he headed up the stairs, and passed right by Kakashi. Once inside of the main room, he blinked, feeling a decent amount of killing intent directed at him. Rolling his eyes, he unleashed his own killing intent that made most of the room whimper in fear. He was then globbed by Ino, who was trying to nuzzle his face and kiss him at the same time. Smiling, he put his scroll up and started to nibble on Ino's earlobe, gaining both a loud moan from Ino and a heavy blush from the girl. He then, placing his hands on her still growing rump, pulled her closer to his body and moved his mouth from her ear to her neck and started to nibble and suck on it. Ino, moaning even louder, put her hand on the back of his head while tilting her head to the right. Neither one of them noticed the fact that the entire room was blushing and Hinata was glaring at Ino with daggers for eyes. Temari was also glaring at Ino for taking the hunk she had been hit on 2 days ago. Shikamaru, with a blush on his face, said, "Troublesome blonde and silverette." Choji, pulling Naruto off of Ino, said, "Sorry Naruto, I don't mean to cock block, but I don't think you should be necking with Ino in front of all of these people." Naruto was about to growl at Choji but stopped himself and gave everyone around him a hard look. Shaking his head, he said, "That's your one free pass, Choji, next time you loose your arm." Ino, hearing this, pouted and said, "You big dummy. I was so close to having Naruto-kun and you go and ruin it." Naruto, smirking, said, "Don't worry Ino-chan, we'll have our day in the sun soon." Ino, hearing this, cheered in happiness, but instantly stopped and sent a potent glare at Sakura. He, marching up to the still somewhat green-haired girl, said, "Now listen here, forehead. I don't care what you do with Sasuke, but you'd better keep your filthy, unworthy hands off of my Naruto-kun." Sakura, hearing this, instantly snapped out of her fear and glared at Ino. She then growled out, "Watch it, Ino pig. He's on my team, and who knows, I might just let him take me right here and now." Ino, growling, said, as if, "Forehead. You're as flat as a cardboard box, and as loud as a banshee. I on the other hand have C-cup breast, and we can already tell he likes my ass, plus I've been taking my training seriously ever since we got back from that mission." She then, flipping her hair back, said, "I need to be in my best shape if I'm going to be the alpha of his harem." She then huffed. Sakura, scowling, said, "You're not even going to be in his harem, piggy. In fact, there will be no harem, because once he's had a taste of me, he'll become addicted to me and I'll be pleasing him from then on." Both girls then started to fight over Naruto, who was ignoring said argument in favor of once again reading his scroll. He, sensing someone coming, growled very loudly, alerting the entire room. Naruto, moving the scroll down, growled at a silver-haired genin with black eyes and black-rimmed glass framing his face. The boy, holding up his hands, said, "Easy there, comrade." Naruto, growling louder, said, "I don't know who you are, and I don't care. Get the hell on before I turn you into kibble for Akamaru." He then, smirking savagely, said, "Trust me, I can and will do it." The boy, sweating, slowly turned around and walked away. Once he was gone, Naruto went back to reading his scroll, but blinked when he felt Akamaru sit down on his foot. Looking down at the dog, he could see in the eyes of Akamaru that he was the alpha and was his master. Naruto, smiling at this, bent down and let the small dog climb on top of his head. Going back to reading his scroll and ignoring the shouts from Kiba, he, feeling chakra signatures approaching, slid next to Ino, wrapped an arm around her and started to growl. He stopped growling though when the proctors for the first exam appeared. The man explaining the exam told them to start. Naruto, who was seated beside Temari and some random Konoha genin, had already figured out the exam and had Akamaru getting the answers for Kiba. Naruto simply cast an illusion to make it look like he had went to sleep. Really, he had just copied the answers from the answer sheet in the man's jacket. That took him all of 5 seconds, so now he was messing with Temari, as he nibbled on her neck, blew hot air into her ears, and placed gentle kisses down her neck. He could tell he was getting the reaction he wanted from her, as she would moan quietly or tense up. She was also biting her lip and rubbing her thighs together. Naruto, then deciding to go further, actually bit her neck, and sucked on it, giving her a visible hickey. He also started to gently massage her back. This caused her to actually moan out loud. He, sitting back in his seat after this, let his genjutsu fade away and smirked at the curious eyes of the proctor. He then, leaning back in his seat, let the exam go back to normal, occasionally scratching Akamaru's head. Soon Ibiki ended the exam and tried to bluff everyone away. Naruto, noticing Sakura's hand starting to rise, was about to growl at her when Ino said, "Alright, you scar-faced freak. Enough with the mind games. Let's get on with the 10th question." Ibiki, scowling, was about to say something when Naruto said, "You heard the lady, Scarface. Get this show over with." Ibiki, now with a twitching eyebrow, told them the truth just in time for Mitarashi Anko to burst into the room, with a silly pose that made her large breast jiggle. Naruto's eyes were temporarily drawn to said orbs, before he snapped his eyes back to her face just as she told them to follow her. He, smirking, let something drop the ground. Seconds later it went off, revealing itself to be a smoke bomb. Paint bomb smoke filled the room, and coughing could be heard, that was followed by a very loud moan, a scream, a few barks, and another moan. When the smoke cleared, Ibiki was now pissed because not only was he completely red, but his eyes burned, his skin was itchy, and he was pretty sure he had makeup on his face. He, looking around, instantly started laughing because the Uchiha now had face paint on his face that made it look like a duck. He also had little rubber duck feet glued to his hair. The Haruno had pink monkey ears glued to her head, along with pink fur and a pink monkey tail. She had a red collar around her neck, that was linked to chain, that was in the Inuzuka's hand. Said boy was bright red, his face being white, with a big red clown nose on his face. He was also wearing big red clown shoes. His gut then burst, spotting the Hyuga boy looking like a very ugly girl, with oranges shoved into his shirt to give him the appearance of breast. He did notice that the blonde from Suna was clean and blushing bright red. Ino herself was giggling in glee, as she now had a visible hickey on her neck and she hadn't been pranked by Naruto. Naruto, sitting at the gates of Training Ground 44, was picking his teeth, as he and Anko waited for the rest of the genin. Minutes later the genin arrived and he smirked, spotting the effects of his prank. Sakura was blushing and glaring at Kiba. Kiba still had the chain in his hand, as it was super glued, and the wind of music box he had wasn't helping his situation. Sasuke was glaring at him with pure hate in his eyes. He, still looking like a duck, had grown a second body and walking around on that. Neji was glaring at him with hate, as the boy now looked like the ugliest girl anyone could ever have the misfortune of seeing. Ino then appeared and glomped him, nuzzling her face into his neck. He, spotting the hickey he had given her, smirked and started to suck on said hickey. This caused Ino to moan loudly into his neck, and once again for blushes to spread throughout the genin. Once again Ino was being glared at by Hinata and Tamari, who was trying and failing to hide her hickey. Anko, on the other hand, was laughing at the balls of the two to do what they're doing in front of so many people. Naruto, stopping his attack on Ino's neck, said, "Ino-chan, you really need to stop glomping me in public, or at least while we're about to do a test." Ino, removing her face from Naruto's neck, pouted and said, "But if I don't let the bitches know that you're mine, then they'll be all over you like white on rice. Especially forehead over there." She then pointed to Sakura, the howler monkey. Said girl was beating up Kiba for accidentally pulling on her leash. Ino, spotting this, sweat dropped and said, "Never mind. It seems as dog breath is destined to be hers." Naruto, giggling, said, "Poor Kiba. His ears will never be the same again." At this Ino started to laugh. She then said, "She's gonna burst his eardrums and make him wish he was dead after their first time together." Naruto, now laughing loudly, ignoring all of the eyes on them, said, "He's gonna bring great shame upon his clan for mating with another male and a howler monkey." Ino, now holding onto Naruto to support herself, said, "Yeah, his mom is gonna just walk away shaking her head, mumbling about her stupid son marrying a howler monkey who could make a cardboard box jealous at how flat it is." Naruto, now holding his sides, said, "His sister is going to be freaked out when she starts to see brown-haired howler monkey dogs walking around, either screeching at everything or trying to hump everything." By now everyone except for Kiba and Sakura were laughing. Even Sasuke, the ever-brooding emo avenger, was quietly laughing. Anko, holding onto her side, said how funny the jokes the two were spitting out, held up her hand to stop any more. Gaining her wits back, she started explaining the rules of the second exam. Kiba then snorted and said, "I'm an alpha and this forest will be a piece of cake for me and my team." He then yelped when his cheek was slashed by one of Anko's kunai. She, licking his cheek, said, "It's the loud ones like you that usually get killed fast in the exams." She then, looking at Sakura, said, "That would be a very bad thing because then your howler monkey would be free to screech and try and seduce anyone." She, walking back to the shack, said, Alright, enough games, come get your scrolls. Naruto, getting the scroll for his team, put the heaven scroll in his pocket, before creating a shadow clone of said scroll. Handing it to Sasuke, he said, "Keep the scroll safe, Teme." Sasuke, snorting, said, "Whatever, Dobi." The now leash-free Sakura, trying to bat her eyelashes at Naruto in a seductive manner, said, "I can keep your scroll safe, Naruto-kun." Naruto, hearing this, shivered in fear and nearly puked at how wrong that sounded. Shaking his head, he said, "Moving on. Let's get to gate 20, so we can start this exam already." Sakura, nodding, followed Naruto, trying to seduce him, while Sasuke was wondering what the hell was going on, as Sakura, his most loyal fangirl, was trying to seduce Naruto, his now sworn enemy. Ino, glaring at Sakura from afar as Sakura tried to grab and pinch Naruto's ass, growled and said, "You're gonna pay for that forehead." Shikamaru, hearing this, sighed and mumbled out, "Troublesome blondes." Choji, munching on his chips, said, "Come Ino, let's get to our gate." Ino, snorting, followed Choji to their gate. Hinata, glaring at Ino, said, "Kiba, Shino, we are going after Team 10 and taking their scroll." Kiba, rolling his eyes, hearing the clear jealousy in her voice, said, "Whatever you say, Hinata." Shino simply pushed up his shades. Temari, glaring at Ino, so wanted to go after Team 10 also, but knew that Gaara was the leader of their team. Gaara, with a plain expression on his face, said, "We kill whoever we come across. Kankuro, you will guide us. Temari, you will cover him." Both people nodded and followed him. In the forest, Naruto was now yawning as Sasuke beat up an AIM team who had tried to ambush Team 7. Sadly, that was never going to work with Naruto's keen sense of smell. He already knew that this group had a heaven scroll, so he was letting Sasuke beat them down for no reason. He was also ignoring Sakura's pathetic attempts at seducing him. His mind was really on Ino and Ramen. The group, after taking the extra heaven scroll, moved along. They were passing by a river, when Naruto's ears picked up the sound of wind heading their way. He, pushing chakra into his feet, stuck to the branch, but rolled his eyes when both Sasuke and Sakura were blown away. He, spotting the source of the wind, said, "Orochimaru of the Sannin, I presume." Orochimaru, peeling off the face of the girl he was wearing like a pair of shoes, chuckled and said, "Naruto-kun, or Konoha's Bloodwolf. What a pleasure to meet you." Naruto blinked, hearing this, and asked, "I'm actually in the bingo book under that silly name?" Orochimaru, laughing, said, "Oh yes. You are a rank threat in the book." Naruto, nodding, asked, "Besides chatting with me, why exactly are you here?" Orochimaru, chuckling more, said, "I'm here to test you and Sasuke-kun." Naruto, hearing this, asked, "Test us for what?" Orochimaru, smirking, said, "For my new body, of course." Naruto, hearing this, shivered and said, "No thanks man, I don't swing that way. Try Teme, he'll bite." Orochimaru, chuckling, said, "Very funny, Naruto-kun. Enough games." He then rushed towards Naruto, who jumped backwards and pulled out Kabikirabocho. He, rushing toward Orochimaru, blinked when he was blocked by a sword from a snake's mouth. Orochimaru, chuckling, said, "I see you have gotten good with your new sword." Naruto, having his eyes on the sword, said, "The Kusanagi, damn, this fight just got tough." Orochimaru, hearing this, laughed and said, "Indeed it did, Naruto-kun." The two then vanished and sound of clashing metal could be heard. 5 minutes later, Naruto appeared, breathing heavily with a few cuts on him. Orochimaru was standing on a branch, a smirk on his face, a few small cuts on him. The snake then said, "You are very good, Naruto-kun. Now it's time to show me some ninjutsu." Naruto, hearing this, decided to try some genjutsu. Closing his eyes, he lifted up his sword and cried out, "Tasuki Ukami Genjutsu, midnight snack." Orochimaru blinked, finding himself trapped in the body of a deer. He, looking around, blinked, gaining wide eyes, spotting a pack of wolves around him, drooling. He, biting his lip, dispelled the illusion and ducked a swing from Naruto's sword. He then punched Naruto in the stomach hard, launching him across the clearing. Naruto, hitting a tree, growled out, "Mokuton, nature's fury jutsu." Orochimaru's eyes widened when from the ground a huge hand made of wood, vines, and flowers appeared and tried to slap him away. Naruto, spotting this, followed his attack up with Supernova, Black Hole Sun. The snake's jaw nearly scraped the ground when a black ball launched towards him. He, moving, felt his jaw actually touch the ground as a huge explosion occurred with flames so hot he could feel their heat from where he was standing. Naruto with one last jutsu in his mind cried out, "Shi Rantan! Cloud's paradise!" Orochimaru was then floored when a huge storm appeared in the clearing. He then barely replaced himself with a log in time to dodge a lightning strike. He ducked under huge wind blades. He wasn't prepared for Naruto's sword to come sailing at him. He managed to dodge though, letting the sword just barely nip him. He deciding to end this rushed towards Naruto and extended his neck. Biting down on Naruto's neck, he smirked, spotting the curse seal of heaven appear on Naruto's neck. Naruto screaming glared at Orochimaru, who chuckled and said, "Enjoy my little gift, Naruto-kun." Orochimaru then vanished. Once his chakra signature vanished, the Naruto he had given his curse seal transformed into Naruto's sword. The sword that had sailed at him earlier transformed into a smirking Naruto. He walking over to his sword, blinked, spotting the new seal on it. Looking at it, he scowled, realizing that pedophile Snake tried to stick a piece of his disgusting soul in him. He was really glad he had switched places with his sword, or else he'd be fighting off the curse seal. Shaking his head, he picked up his sword and was about to head towards his teammates, when he noticed something glinting not too far from his direction. He, following the gleam, blinked, finding himself in a cave made of crystallized hellfire. He, sniffing out the cave, couldn't smell anything too dangerous, so he slowly made his way into the cave. His eyes widened, spotting two swords much like the one on his back locked in eternal combat in front of him. He, looking up, could also see another pair of swords, these two looking like they were guarding something. He, not knowing what to do, closed his eyes and tried to feel if any of these swords were calling to him. His eyebrows started to twitch when all four swords started screaming for him to take them with him. He, opening his eyes, sighed and decided it was time for him to try his idea. Pushing energy through his body, he started picturing an extra pair of arms under the ones he had now. He winced, feeling pain around his stomach area. Opening his eyes, he couldn't believe that it worked. Granted, the arms were wolf-like in nature, but still he had 4 arms. Shaking his head, he walked over to the pair locked in battle, grabbed the snow-white one first. He instantly felt his chakra levels increase, and could feel his heightened chakra getting crazy strong. He, grabbing the sword that looked to be blood-colored, started sweating, feeling his supernova chakra levels along with his Kanton chakra levels skyrocket. He then, looking down, blinked, spotting tiny pink and white crystals on his left arm. His other arm was now coated in a blazing orangish-red aura. He blinked, hearing an angelic, melodic and female voice tell him that the first sword was named Soul Calibur, or the Blessed Sword. He then heard a deep demonic voice tell him that the other sword was named Soul Edge. He, shaking his head, was wondering where to put both swords. Imagine his surprise when both swords transformed into wristbands of corresponding colors. He, shaking his head, walked over to the other swords and grabbed them with his wolf arms. He had to let out a loud howl, as he felt both his Fuuten chakra levels get a major boost. He, shaking his head, looked down at the ends of the 2 swords and blinked, spotting the red demon head on the red blade and the blue demon head on the blue blade. He then heard twin voices say that the name of these 2 swords were Agni and Rudra. He was then informed that the 2 swords can be fused to be easier to carry around. He, fusing them, blinked, spotting a sword slightly longer than his first one. Nodding, he walked out of the cave and took a deep whiff of the forest. He, finding Sasuke's scent, rolled his eyes as the Uchiha smelled like snakes and Sakura smelling like piss. Sighing, he decided to sniff out Ino instead. His eyes narrowed, smelling her with Team 8. She also seemed terrified for some reason. He, shifting into his full wolf form, ran towards her location. Ino was terrified as Hinata and her team had taken out Shikamaru and Choji, leaving just her. Since coming back from Wave, she had been taking her training seriously, but even she couldn't defeat Hinata and her 2 teammates by herself. Hinata, with a glare in her eyes, said, "You're to stay away from Naruto-kun, he is mine." Ino, hearing this, felt her fear melt away as she snarled, "No, he's not. He's mine." Hinata, sneering, was about to strike Ino, when a fear-inducing howl ripped throughout the forest. Ino, recognizing the howl though, started looking around for what she was sure is Naruto. She then heard Akamaru start whimpering. She, turning to the dog, blinked, spotting him with his tail between his legs and laid out on his back. She, looking at Kiba, knew that Dog Boy was terrified as his eyes were wide and he was constantly scanning the surroundings. Shino himself was breathing very heavy, like he was trying desperately not to faint. She then looked at Hinata, who was trembling like a little leaf, her Byakugan eyes looking directly above Ino. Ino, looking up herself, felt her heart leap out of its chest, spotting Naruto in his wolf form glaring at Team 8 with his rage-filled eyes. Naruto, jumping down in front of Ino, growled out, "Leave now." All members of Team 8 didn't say a word but took off running, not daring to further enrage the massive wolf in front of them. Naruto, shifting back into his human form, turned to Ino and was about to ask if she was alright. Instead, he found himself engaged in a major makeout session with the grateful Yamanaka heiress. When the kissing stopped, Ino drew back and whispered with lust clear in her voice, "I don't want to wait anymore, Naruto-kun. I need you now. I want you to claim me as your mate and make me the alpha of your future harem." Naruto, closing his eyes, said, "Fine, Inoheim." He then carried her a little bit away from the clearing her team was still in. He, slapping some seals down, said, "There now, no one should disturb us." He then, placing her down, wasn't prepared for her to glomp him and begin the makeout session again. The two of them getting back the clearing woke up Shikamaru and Choji. Naruto then left. Arriving in the clearing where his teammates was, he sweat-dropped, spotting Sakura basically raping the unconscious Sasuke. He, deciding not to make his presence known, climbed into the tree, transformed into his wolf form and took a nap. He would be woken up hours later from the sounds of a struggle. Opening one of his eyes, he rolled his wolf eyes, spotting Sakura being beaten up by the sound genin. He, hopping down from his perch, growled lowly, getting the reaction he wanted from the people in the clearing. His eyes narrowed when the girl of the sound team jumped and bruises could be seen. He, walking over to her and ignoring the others, checked her over. His growl then became a powerful snarl as he could tell that this poor girl was being abused by her teammates. He, turning his eyes on them, could feel the fear crawling up their spines. This fear got bigger when he summoned Soul Edge and had his tail wrapped around it. He then, letting loose one of his howls, made the entire forest tremble in fear. That fear doubled when a howl much like his could be heard coming from deep in the forest. Naruto then dashed forward and like a blur the two other members of the sound genin fell to the floor dead. He, shaking his fur, he turned to the terrified girl. He, walking over to her, gently nuzzled his face with hers. Kin, feeling this, calmed down greatly. Naruto, feeling this, made the girl climb on his back. He, looking at Sakura, motioned for her to follow him with Sasuke. Sakura, nodding, followed Naruto to the tower. Naruto, entering the tower, threw out the two scrolls and ignored when Iruka appeared and explained the test. He then, escorting the now sleeping peacefully Kin to the Hokage's office in the tower, lay down gently on the floor, and let her wake up herself. Kin, spotting the Hokage and a few of the Jonin, instantly felt fear creep up her spine. She was instantly calmed down as Naruto let out a snore from under her. She, looking down, smiled, spotting the wolf that had rescued her from her terrible team. She, hearing the Hokage ask her to explain, did so, leaving nothing out. She felt fear fill her body, hearing some people scream for her death. That fear vanished just as quick as it came because Naruto letting out a loud growl. Naruto, standing to his feet, glared at everyone with his eyes. He, creating a clone, had Kin get on its back. Shifting into his human form, summoned both Soul Edge and Soul Calibur. He then, looking at every person that had screamed for Kin's death, and said, "Shut your filthy mouths. Kin-chan is now under my protection. She is to be marked down as my vassal, and any who dare threaten her will feel my full wrath." He then, slamming Soul Calibur into the floor, ignored when blue crystals appeared all around him and said, "I will also have you burning by the very flames of the sun." He then, looking one person dead in the eyes, said, "So heed my words, before I am forced to skin you alive and dance on your bones." He then, shifting back into his wolf form, allowed Kin to climb back on his back and made his way to the room. Sarutobi, sweat dropping, could only say, "I need to find a replacement soon. I'm getting way too old for this shit and he fucking knows it." Naruto, in a room curled up next to Ino, both of them in their wolf form, smirked and said, "Ya damn right I do, you old man. Soon I will have the hat and things will never be the same." Ino, snuggling into Naruto, growled out, "Hush, Naruto-koi. Your princess needs her sleep." Naruto's sweat dropped hearing this and wondered if his clone was doing any better with Kin. Kin, nuzzling into the Naruto clone's warm fur, was like, "Naruto-sama's fur is nice and cozy." The clone's sweat dropped hearing this and thought, why does boss always attract the crazies? I mean Ino, this chick, the crazy proctor, and that hot Anbu. Kami, why can't he pick someone normal like Kurenai or Hana? It then feeling Kin start drooling in its fur cried mentally and said, I hate you boss. My fur is going to ruined. Troublesome crazy women. 2 days later and Iruka was scratching his head spotting what he was sure was a Naruto clone in a chibi wolf form being cuddled to death by Kin. The reason he was scratching his head was the wolf had tears in its eyes and was begging him for him to help it. He could help the wolf and be owed a favor from Naruto, or let it suffer as payback for all those times Naruto got him beat up by Kunoichi for being a pervert. He sighing decided to spare the clone's life and said, Kin-san, please relinquish the clone before it dies. Kin blinking released the clone who appeared in front of Iruka and kissed his feet. Iruka ignoring this said, Naruto, dismiss this clone and report to the main room. I'm sure you'll be able to find your way there. I'll escort Kin-san there. Ino needs to be there also. The clone nodding vanished in a poof of smoke. Iruka ignoring this lead Kin to the main room, ignoring how terrified the girl seemed. Not that he blamed her as he had heard what some of the people had threatened her with. He reaching the main room, blinked spotting the real Naruto there without a shirt, Ino hanging onto his left arm. Iruka noticed that something was different about Ino. Was her hair longer and did it just shine in the light? Shaking his head he focused his attention on Naruto who now had 2 wristbands and 2 swords on his back. He recognized the first one as the head cleaver, the second one he didn't recognize, but could see the kanji for Tempest on the hilt. Naruto walking forward gave Kin his arm and said, calm down Kin-chan. I'm right here, and I won't allow a single person to lay a finger on you. Kin hearing this instantly calmed down and latched onto the arm Ino wasn't hanging onto. Naruto smiled at this and led his 2 girls down the stairs to join the rest of the genin, including Sasuke who he could tell had gotten an evil hickey of doom from Pedamaru. His eyes moving to Sarutobi who looked like he wanted to strangle someone, pretended to pay attention as the man droned on and on about the true purpose of the Chunin exams. Everyone thought he was going to lose his temper first, but they were wrong. Ino getting annoyed at Sarutobi's speech growled and said, old man, if you don't get to the point, Naruto-kun is gonna go on a pranking spree so bad that you'll never finish the paperwork that comes from it. All eyes moved to Naruto, who smirked and said, you heard my hime, get to the point old man. Sarutobi's sweat dropping did get to the point and some random jonin appeared to start the prelims. Naruto walking back up the steps with a girl on either arm, leaned against the wall and watched the matches. The first match was Kiba versus Kankuro, the boy from Suna. Kiba down on the floor had an arrogant smirk on his face as he said, this is great, I get the loser who plays with his dolls and wear his sister's makeup. His comment got Ino to giggle, Kin to snicker and Naruto to laugh very loudly. Kankuro with an twitching eyebrow said, I get to put the horny little doggy down. That's when Ino and Kin lost it and started laughing very loudly. Naruto shaking his head said, that round goes to the marionette fucker. When Naruto said this everyone burst out laughing including Kiba who said, Naruto in for the kill. Kankuro was now twitching completely. He turning his head glared at Naruto and said, forget the doggy, I want the fruit wolf boy. Naruto hearing this felt his eyes narrow as he said, Akamaru rip him to pieces, so commands Prince Ukami, leader of the heavenly all-lunar Fang clan. Akamaru hearing this didn't bark but let loose a powerful howl that sent chills down everyone's spine. Kiba looking at his dog blinked when Akamaru turned into a large wolf with blood-red fur. Kankuro spotting the wolf shit his pants. Naruto smirking manically said, Kiba, I give you the blessing of the all-lunar Fang clan. Unleash your inner wolf and show this fool why canines tend to run in packs. Kiba hearing this smirked dangerously and howled. Kankuro shit his pants again when Kiba jumped into the air and fused entirely with Akamaru. The creature that landed was something out of everyone's worst nightmare. It was a mother-fluffing 2-headed monster wolf, with a glowing purple moon on the middle of its heads. It roared and licked its lips. Naruto cackling said, behold the true purpose for my little prank during the end of the first exam. You see, the day before the start of the Chunin exams I had a meeting with the Honorable Inuzuka clan. Flashback no jutsu. Naruto was wondering why Kiba was at his front door growling under his breath. Naruto tilting his head asked, what the hell are you doing here, dog breath? Kiba growling said, my mom and sister wish to speak to you, O honorable Prince of Heaven. Naruto smirking said, damn, I'd never thought I'd hear you say something like that, dog breath. His smirk widened when Kiba grumbled even louder. Naruto laughing said, relax Kiba, I'm just yanking your chain. Let me lock up and we'll head over to your place. Kiba smiled at this. Naruto locking his door held out his hand. Kiba blinked when a large white bird landed on his hand and walked up to his shoulder. Smiling Naruto said, Kiba, meet Karara, my mighty phoenix. Karara shaking her head nuzzled his face. Naruto giggling said, her feathers are flames yet they feel like a warm breeze. He then smiling said, she may look like she's my pet, but in reality she's my partner and can burn through anything that she comes across just like the flames of my aunt. He then shaking his head said, come on Kiba, let's go. Kiba nodding started to walk with Naruto towards his home, the two of them talking about old times and his pranks. When they reached his home, Naruto had Kiba rolling about his prank on Sasuke that turned his hair green. Naruto blinked, spotting all of the puppies running around and the not so excited Inuzukas running after them. He turning to Kiba asked, a new batch of puppies? Kiba sighing said, yeah, and they're even worse than the batch Akamaru came from. Naruto laughing said, yeah, that might be my fault, you know, with my wolf powers. Kiba sighing said, that's what mom thinks, and that's why she wants to talk to you. Naruto scratching Karara on her beak said, yeah, I figured when you told me. They then reached their destination and Naruto's nose picked up the scent of beef and hold the phone was that ramen. Kiba blinked and Naruto was a smoke outline. He sweat dropping said, he's a prince, yet he could easily be controlled with his obsession of ramen. He sighing walked inside of his home. Naruto now in a seat was itching to reach out and consume the ramen in front of him, but years of watching the old man during procedures like this had drilled into him that he should resist such actions. Sume spotting Naruto's state was surprised he hadn't attacked the ramen. Hana on the other hand was fighting every bone in her body not to jump Naruto's bones right now. Naruto looking at Karara, who was getting restless as fresh beef was in front of her yet she hadn't gotten a single bite of yet said, I really don't mean to sound impatient, but Karara is going to light this entire estate on fire if you don't inform us why we're here. Sume blinking said, you're here because the Inuzuka clan wished to make a pact with you, Prince Naruto. Naruto hearing the prince rolled his eyes and said, it's just Naruto. The prince makes me feel like a spoiled brat, besides you've watched over me many times, Sume-san. Sume smirking said, well then brat, you can plainly see that our pups are or have been affected by your wolf genes. They smell your aura just like I can and instantly realized that you are the alpha. All of our animals and most of our clan have realized this. Hana realized this the first time she saw you. Now my clan is heavily tied with animals and you being the son of one of my old teammates, I thought that it would be a good thing for the both of us if our clan had a pact. Naruto nodding to this said, sound plan, but please inform me what exactly you want from this pact? Sume blinked wondering how Naruto quickly cut through the bullshit so easily. Naruto smirking said, oh come on Sume-chan, I was practically raised by the Hokage. The old man tried to teach me everything he knew, as someday I plan on taking over his job. I may not have understood it, but anything that relates to the hat, I paid close attention to. Politics aren't my thing, but the old man was and still is a master at cutting through the bullshit, and seeing through the red tape. Sume laughing said, damn brat. Well, to put it frank, the clan wants your help in making the Inuzuka stronger and possibly reaching the ultimate fusion with our partners. Naruto hearing this said, so you would like for me to help you and your clan to become a lichen or werewolf but not permanently? Sume nodding asked, is it possible? Naruto snorting said, Sume, you know me way better than that. I don't know the meaning of the word impossible. I might have to think a little and maybe speak with a few gods, maybe even an alternate version of me. Could possibly get it done. Yes, will take time to synthesize a prototype of it, but very possible. He then shaking his head said, damn it, Karara-chan remind me to fucking strangle that version of myself from the 100th dimension, got me playing that cursed game. Bloody Morden Solace. Sume, Hana and Kiba all blinked at this while Karara hummed. Naruto then asked, so what do I get out of this arrangement besides ramen? Sume gained a large smirk on her face as she said, oh, you gain the hand in marriage of 2 Inuzuka women and become head of the Inuzuka clan. Naruto and Kiba both blinked at this. Naruto tilting his head asked, "What are you talking about, Sume-chan?" Sume laughing said, "What I'm saying is that myself and Hana are going to become your future wives. This will make you the head of the Inuzuka clan and Kiba your son-in-law." Naruto hearing this couldn't control himself. He hit the floor rolling in laughter with Kurara now on the shell shocked Kiba's shoulder. When he finally stopped laughing he said, "Oh, that's perfect. Dog Breath would be my son-in-law and I could finally make him take the bath he so needs." Kiba hearing this snapped out of his shock and growled out, "You saying I stink, Dobi?" Naruto snorting said, "Kiba, you smell so bad, my nose could pick your scent up from Wave." Kiba growled at this and said, "That's it, I'm gonna make you pay, prince or not." Naruto smirking cracked his knuckle and said, "Bring it, Dog Breath. I'll put you in your place." Kiba was about to leap at Naruto when he was pecked by Kurara who squawked. Naruto started to tear up and was having a hard time holding his laughter in. Kiba glaring at the phoenix asked, "Why did you peck me, you stupid overgrown chicken?" Kurara pecked him again and squawked even louder. Naruto laughing said, "She is trying to tell you that I'd own you with one eye closed." He then standing up and getting back in his seat coughed and said, "Well then, I agree to the terms and will send the old man a copy of the proceedings. Now that's the business is over." His eyes then transformed into bowls of ramen as he screamed, "Ramen!" Kiba, Hana, and Sume all sweat dropped. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. Naruto smiling at the shocked looks on everyone's face said, "That smoke bomb was really the prototype chemical compound created to create the transformation. May I present to you the DNA fusion of Kiba Inuzuka and Akamaru, Lucian Blackwell." The wolf monster smirked and said, "This is so fucking awesome. Me and Akamaru are in total sync." It then licking its lips asked, "Ready to die, puppet fucker?" Kankuro feeling his anger come back said, "Bring it on, freak." Lucian smirked and the battle began. Seconds later and Lucian was standing above the battered remains of Kankuro and his puppet. Naruto nodding his head said, "Subject seems to have an excessive aggression. Most likely due to command given before transformation. Also could be due the DNA of Blood Wolf Clan or Nicholas Michelson. Must adjust, then try again." Lucian blinked and transformed back into Kiba and Akamaru. The Jonin shaking his head said, "Winner Kiba Inuzuka of Konoha. Someone get a clean-up crew to move the remains." Everyone was shocked at what had just happened. The next match was a genin from Konoha versus another genin from Konoha. Pretty soon it was Lee versus Gaara. Sadly Lee was defeated but not before Naruto informed Gaara that he would be personally stamping his timesheet sending him to the gaping maws of Shinigami. Now it was time for a match Naruto honestly wanted to see. Hinata versus Neji. Hinata glaring at Ino hanging off of Naruto, ignored every word that came out of Neji's mouth. Hinata turning to glare at Neji said, "You will be going down, Neji, as I must prove my love for Naruto-kun and get that unworthy whore off of him." Naruto's eyebrow started to twitch at this, and he could hear Ino growling. Said eyebrow started to twitch even more when he felt Ino's now very sharp claws dig into his arms. He then snorting let out a low growl and said, "Ino, if you don't loosen that grip on my arm, I'm going to bite you, and not the way you like either." Ino hearing this quickly loosened her grip. Naruto then watched as Hinata defeated the pompous Neji and glared at Ino. Ino glared right back at Hinata, and Naruto was kinda getting sick of it, until he heard, "Next match. Tsuchi Kin vs Higurashi Tenten." Naruto blinked and turned to the trembling Kin. Smiling softly he said, "Kin-chan, go out there and do your best. The moon, sun and the storm will watch over you." Kin looking at him with clear fear in her eyes asked, "What if I'm not strong enough and make your name look bad?" Naruto hearing this smiled and said, "Kin-chan, I really don't give a damn about my name. All I care about is that you give it your all, and if you go down swinging." He then still sensing a small amount of fear in her said, "As insurance I think it's time I tried something I read about in the Uzumaki scrolls." He motioning for Ino to back up, forced a partial transformation, and ignored the searing pain shooting through his body. He making one of his canine teeth enlarge, ripped it right out of his mouth. Allowing his blood to soak the fang, he unleashed a full transformation. Tossing the fang into the air, he went through multiple hand signs. Finishing up he howled out, "Hidden Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, creation of the Soul Slayer." The fang started to glow. He then dropping to all fours shook his entire body and howled deeply. Everyone gasped when a pair of glowing golden eyes appeared above him. Naruto then howled out, "O Shinigami, Queen of the Dead! I ask thee for the souls of Ringo Amayuri, former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, and Senju Uzumaki Mito, great wife of Senju Hashirama and powerful member of the once great Uzumaki clan. I offer you the soul of Kankuro Sabaku and Momochi Zabuza in return." Everyone gained wide eyes when the two souls he asked for appeared and fused with the fang. Naruto smirking said, "I thank you, Shinigami-chan." He then standing up slammed his hands on the fang and cried out, "Mokuton, nature's benefit." Everyone gasped when the fang was wrapped into a thick shell of wood. That shell broke seconds later to reveal a gorgeous sword, with a wooden handle and a guard shaped like the kanji for fear. Naruto then shifting into his supernova wolf form bite down on the fang and released searing hot flames down on the blade. He removing his mouth from it by once again tossing it into the air, shifted back into his human form. Grabbing the hilt of the brand new sword, he twirled it around and pointed it directly at Sasuke and said, "May I present to you Kin-chan's very own weapon of immense power, blessed with the powers of supernova release and the Mokuton, fused with the souls of Amayuri and Mito and given the power of fear." He then handing it to Kin said, "It's up to you to learn her name, Kin." Kin gently taking the weapon was looking at the new sword like it was a gift from God. She closing her eyes blinked hearing the name of the sword. Smiling she opened her eyes and said, "Her name is Kyofu no Haka, Fear's Grave." Naruto smiling at her said, "She's yours, Kin-chan, as my proof to you that no matter what happens during, or after this match, I'll be proud of you." Kin hearing this was beaming. She then happily ran to the battlefield. Naruto shaking his head leaned against the rail, ignoring the greedy eyes of Sasuke, Sakura and Orochimaru. He blinked feeling someone nuzzle his face. Rolling his eyes said, "I'm not making you a sword, Ino, so stop nuzzling me." The nuzzling stopped and Ino huffed. She leaning on his arm said, "You're such a good alpha and mate. You'll be a wonderful father." Naruto rolling his eyes said, "Yeah, whatever." Kin staring down Ten who said, "It's weak girls like you and Haruno that make us true kunoichi look bad." Kin scowling said, "I am nothing like that pink-haired menace. I have trained hard my entire life, and with Naruto-sama's blessing I will not lose." Ten snorting said, "You sound like you owe him your life." Kin smiling brightly said, "I do. He rescued me from my dick teammates and stood up for me when others wanted to kill me." She looking at Naruto said, "He even threatened the Hokage for me." She then turning to Ten with a fire in her eyes said, "I will do everything in my power to make him proud of me." Ten hearing this couldn't help but smile. Dropping into her stance she said, "Good, I was hoping you'd say something like that. What I said earlier was a test. I'm glad you passed. It will be my honor to battle with you, Kin-san." Kin nodding looked towards the proctor who was smiling. He bringing his hand down said, "Fight." He then moved out of the way, just as the two girls sprang into action. Pretty soon both girls were locked in eternal combat, and all eyes were on them. All eyes except for Naruto's who staring at the curse seal on Sasuke's neck. He didn't like how evil that damn seal was, and honestly he wondered how in the hell did the snake come up with such a sick seal. His eyes then moved to Anko, as his nose had picked up the scent of more evil on her. He narrowing his eyes let his eyes roam her body. He finding her curse mark, instantly figured out why the villagers were so mean to her and why she had so few friends. He was about to say something when his eyes was drawn to the battlefield. The reason why, was because the buildup of power coming from Kin. He smirking said, "Ino-chan, behold the Shikai of the Soul Slayer." Ino hearing Naruto paid close attention to Kin who screamed out, "Mankind's secret buried for centuries. Guarded by the darkness and coveted by the evil creatures. Found not lost, by the undeserving eyes of a servant. Blessed by the son of the storms, and nephew of the moon and sun. Break down the walls and blur the lines. Consume Kyofu no Haka." Suddenly a dense shell of dark energy appeared around Kin. Naruto felt his eyes widen when the image of 7 astral wolves appeared around Kin. The small black one with glowing pink eyes stepped forward and lunged into the shell. Naruto realizing what this was, threw his head back and let loose a howl. This action was copied by Kiba, Akamaru and Ino. Everyone was confused until another howl was released, this time from the shell. The shell then broke down, and a changed Kin was revealed. Her long black hair was now tied into a loose ponytail and was shining. Her skin was flawless, and her eyes were now pink just like the wolf. She was dressed in a type of armor never seen before. It was sectioned, starting at her shoulders, ending midway her bicep, started and ended at the elbows, then appeared again midway her tricep and covered her entire hand. It was thick on her chest area but spread out at her stomach, still somehow covering her sides. It formed a very short skirt, and then unlike the rest it covered all of her legs and her feet. The armor was dark gray, with the image of the moon visible on the back. The feet were actually shaped like a wolf's paw. Her sword was attached to her rear in the shape of a tail. If you looked closely you would see that there was chain connecting the sword to the armor. Kin then dropping down to all fours, growled at Tenten and said, "For the love and affection of Naruto and Ino-sama." She then dashed forward and Tenten had to flip into the air to avoid being slashed in half by Kin's claws. Tenten smiling said, "Oh yeah, I love it when I get a good fight." The battle then resumed and everyone was watching now, including Naruto. Ino, watching as Kin's sword deflected a surprise attack from Tenten, asked, "Why did she say that, Naruto-kun?" Naruto, smiling as Kin's sword shot out at Tenten while Kin was spinning in the air, said, "Kin-chan is part of our pack, like Kiba and Akamaru. Yet she sees herself as a lowly beta to our alpha. She seeks to earn our love and affection, not knowing that she already has it. Otherwise I wouldn't have given her a soul slayer." Ino, hearing this, snorted and said, "Naruto-koi, I get a cool power from becoming a part of the pack also, right?" Naruto, smiling as Kin trapped Tenten in a powerful illusion, said, "Yes my lovely Haim. I'm pretty sure you now have the shot and release." Ino, hearing this, blinked and said, "But I have my clan's Kekkei Genkai." Naruto, rolling his eyes, said, "Yes you do Ino-Haim. But now because of your wolf and becoming my mate you have the crystal release along with your clan Kekkei Genkai." Ino, hearing this, smiled and couldn't wait to show Sakura her new bloodline. Naruto blinked when the match was declared a draw. Naruto, smiling, turned to Ino and said, "That was a marvelous match, don't you agree, Ino-Haim?" Ino, nodding, said, "Kin-chan is without a doubt a part of our pack. Naruto-koi, as soon as she wakes up I want to make her an official part of the pack." She then wiggled her eyebrows and asked, "Catch my drift?" Naruto, sweat dropping, said, "I think you've become a pervert, Ino, because before you would have at least blushed at the comment that just came out of your mouth." Ino, huffing, said, "Naruto-koi, since we mated in the forest, we've had 10 more times and would be going at it right now if it weren't for this stupid test." Naruto's sweat drop got even bigger hearing this. Everyone else in the room were either choking on their saliva or looking at Naruto like he was a god. The Jonin, with a heavy blush on his face, coughed and said, "The next match is Yamanaka." He was cut off by Ino, who said, "Uzumaki Yamanaka." He, shaking his head, said, "Uzumaki Yamanaka Ino vs Haruno Sakura." Ino, hearing this, gained a cat that ate the canary grin on her face. Naruto face palmed at this and said, "Ino-Haim, don't kill Kiba's soulmate." Ino, hearing this, pouted and said, "But Naruto-koi, she's so annoying and makes the serious kunoichi look bad." Naruto, pinching the bridge of his nose, said, "I said no killing the pink-haired howler monkey, Ino-Haim. Keep arguing me and I'll let Ka-chan teach you about the Uzumaki traits along with both of my aunts." Ino blanched dramatically hearing this and said, "No, don't do that, Naruto-koi. I'll be a good girl, I promise." Naruto, still holding the bridge of his nose, said, "Prove it." Ino, nodding, jumped down to the arena floor. Standing up, she didn't bother to dust herself off, she just glared at Sakura, who had this smug smirk on her face. Ino, still glaring, asked, "What's with the smirk forehead?" Sakura, smiling, said, "Oh, I just can't wait to see the look on your face when Naruto dumps you for me after I kick your ass here." Ino blinked and asked, "Are you serious?" Sakura, snorting, said, "Of course I am, piggy." Ino then started to laugh very loudly, to the point that she was holding her sides. She, ending her laughing, asked, "You really don't get it, do you, forehead?" Sakura blinked and asked, "Get what, piggy?" Ino, smiling, said, "Naruto-koi will never pick you for a couple of reasons." She, flipping her hair back, said, "First, he likes his women's serious kunoichi. Example, myself, Kin-chan, the crazy proctor to the second exam, the purple-haired Anbu that he saved, Kurenai-sensei. Sakura scowled at this. Ino then said, "Second, Naruto isn't kidding when he says that you and Kiba are soulmates. It's one of the perks of being the child of a goddess and a natural-born apex." Sakura was really shaking in rage now. Ino then said, "Third, his girls have curves, as you can already tell, and sadly you're so flat a cardboard box looks like a better partner than you." By now the entire room was trying to hold back their laughter and Anko was winking at Naruto. Naruto himself was banging his head against the railing. Ino then gaining a serious look on her face said, "Lastly I'm the alpha of his harem. And I can see that as you are now, you're nothing but a gold-digging whore, who would happily fuck an old man if he promised to give you lots of money." Sakura screamed at this statement and said, "Proctor, start the fucking match so I can make this bitch pay." The proctor started the match, and like a fool Sakura rushed towards Ino who smirked. She dropping into a stance said, "Foolish little monkey, you fell right into my trap. From the battle style of my love and mate, Taijutsu, Crystal Wolf's Berserker Barrage." Her fist then drove right into Sakura's gut, making her eyes nearly pop out of her head. Ino then started to tear into Sakura, landing bone-breaking punches, kicks and even biting Sakura. What made matters worse is when Sakura started to move with each attack. Ino landing a deadly right hook, sent Sakura flying across the floor. Everyone gained wide eyes when Ino shifted into her wolf form, with crystals clearly visible in her fur. She running in front of Sakura shifted back into her human form said, "It's over." Lightning style, thunder punch. Her fist was then coated in thick yellow lightning. She hitting Sakura directly in the jaw, watched as Sakura collided with the statue making a huge dust cloud appear. She crossing her arms smirked when Sakura was revealed to be unconscious and very hurt. The proctor quickly called the match in her favor and got Sakura help. Ino skipping upstairs sent a potent glare at Hinata and said, "See you at the finals, bitch." Naruto ignored this and watched the board rotate through names, but knew there was no point as the only people yet to fight was Temari, Shikamaru, Choji, Shino, Sasuke and himself. He figured that Shikamaru and Shino would face each other, then Choji would face Temari. He was 100% accurate and Shikamaru ended up making it to the finals. Temari destroyed Choji and sent her own glare at both Ino and Hinata. Naruto sighing started making his way towards the arena floor, already knowing that his match with Sasuke wasn't going to be pretty. He getting the floor rolled his eyes spotting the arrogant smirk on Sasuke's face. The proctor asked, "Are both fighters ready?" Naruto nodded while Sasuke continued to smirk. The proctor then started the match and moved back. The two of them were just standing there looking at each other, Naruto with indifference, Sasuke with an arrogant smirk. Sasuke then said, "Dobi, if you create one of those swords for me like you did my future whore, then I'll go easy on you." Naruto hearing the insult at both himself and kin growled and said, "Duck ass, if you apologize now I'll let you keep your ego." Sasuke laughed and said, "Dobi, I am beyond you power now." Naruto rolling his eyes said, "Sure you are, and Kakashi-sensei doesn't read porn." Sasuke scowling said, "I guess I'm just gonna have to show you who is the better." Naruto putting his hands in his pockets said, "Yeah sure whatever." Sasuke spotting this snarled and said, "Dobi, you get into a proper stance now." Naruto pulling a book out of his pocket opened it and started to read it. Sasuke spotting this roared and said, "Dobi, look at your betters now." Naruto yawning turned to the proctor and asked, "I'm sorry, did you say something?" Sasuke screamed and launched at Naruto, who with the grace of a cat dodged each of his sloppy attacks. Naruto getting behind Sasuke did a hand sign that made Kakashi's eyes widen. Said eyes widened even more spotting the sparks on the tips of Naruto's fingers. Naruto with an evil smirk on his face said, "I'm borrowing this from Kakashi-sensei's playbook. Taijutsu, 1000 Years of Death. Storm style." He then shoved his fingers up Sasuke's ass. The boy shot into the air holding said thing. Almost everyone in the room was laughing hard, the exception being the awake and healed Sakura who was glaring at Naruto. Sasuke landing started to shake in rage. He then suddenly stopped and smirked. He looking at Naruto said, "That's right, play your silly games, Dobi." Once I defeat you, I'm going to track down your whore of a mother and take her, along with your aunts, and then I'll have my way with the Yamanaka and that former sound whore. Naruto, hearing this, instantly lost all playfulness. He, closing the book, tossed it into the wall. Naruto's face was a stone, not a speck of emotion could be seen. Ino, spotting this, said, "Oh boy, duck ass just pissed off Naruto Koi." Kin, standing beside Ino, said, "Naruto-sama is going to render him useless." Kiba, licking his lips, said, "This just might be the death of the Uchiha clan in the village hidden in the leaves." Sarutobi himself was shaking his head as he said, "Foolish Uchiha just crossed a line not even my foolish former student would cross." Suddenly a huge killing intent flooded the room, and people started seeing the laughing face of the Shinigami. Then it suddenly got extremely hot inside of the room. Ino, moving her eyes to Naruto, gasped. Everyone following her eyes gasped, spotting Naruto literally smoking. Naruto, growling, clenched his fist and black flames appeared on his hands. Naruto, then grabbing his left wrist, unsealed soul edge. He, lifting it up, unleashed a hellish wave of malignant blood-red energy. Everyone gasped when an eye opened up in the middle of the sword. Naruto's entire body then became coated in black flames, that was burning the very ground he was walking on. Red chakra then shrouded Naruto, and everyone that was alive during the Kyuubi attack gasped, realizing that this was its chakra. Naruto then, with a deep demonic voice, said, "Ancient eyes watch over the young. A king sits upon his castle mourning the loss of his son. His hands soaked in the blood of the innocent. Sleepless, he waits for the never-ending nightmare. Hungry, he watches his prey. In rage, he creates a blade, forged from the flames of hell and fused with the souls of the wicked. She and her twin lock eternally in battle, waiting, watching, praying for someone to find them. Burn with the flames of the eternally damned soul edge." Flames burst from every single spot on the floor. Hell, the proctor, was standing beside the Hokage. The flames were so powerful Naruto couldn't be seen. When the flames died down a little, everyone gasped, spotting Naruto literally floating above the ground, billions of floating blood-red swords spinning around him. Naruto's hair was braided, and his muscles were rippling. He was wearing black hakama pants with torn edges. The flames now covered him, much like armor, and gloves could even be seen. Naruto, glaring at Sasuke with blood-red eyes, said, "I'm going to make you wish you were never born Uchiha." He then vanished, and Sasuke screamed in pain as his right arm was now laying on the floor burning. Sasuke, growling, activated his Sharingan and attacked Naruto. The battle shook the building, even though it was very obvious who was winning. Suddenly a vile and evil chakra flooded the room. Sasuke appeared with his curse mark covering his entire body. He, laughing, said, "I'm going to kill you now, Dobi." He then vanished again, and Anko was about to jump in to stop the battle, when a hand firmly grabbed her shoulder. She, turning to look at who did so, gasped, finding Amaterasu there with Tsukuyomi and Susanoo. All three goddesses had pissed-off looks on their faces. Amaterasu, making Anko move back, said, "If anyone besides myself or my nephew even think of touching these flames, they will burn for all eternity in the pits of hell, no matter what they have done in their life." Sakura, hearing this, quickly moved away from the flames. Tsukuyomi, scowling as Sasuke appeared with a new arm, said, "The foolish Uchiha has pissed off my nephew and allowed Naruto to bond with the legendary cursed sword Soul Edge." Susanoo, watching as Naruto appeared with huge fireballs in each hand, said, "He's also using the full power of the supernova release." Amaterasu, spotting Sasuke get hit with both fireballs, said, "He's even creating sub-departments for said release." Tsukuyomi, watching as Sasuke was blasted back, said, "He has created 6 sub-categories for it." Naruto, then shoving his flames-covered fist into Sasuke's gut, said, "Supernova release. Subcategory ICU, kidney." Sasuke then screamed and the smell of burning flesh filled the room. Susanoo, hearing this, said, "Sochi just fried the Uchiha's kidneys." Amaterasu said, "Internal combustion unit. He can now target the internal organs with his supernova release." Naruto, appearing on the statue, opened up his hand and said, "Supernova release. Subcategory implode, gravitational burn." Everyone watched as Sasuke was literally drawn towards a small black ball of fire. A small explosion appeared and Sasuke tumbled to the ground, most of his body burnt. Tsukuyomi said, He just made the Uchiha move to his attack, like a gravitational pull. Naruto appearing revealed the swords to be spinning fast now. He spreading his arms said, Kenjutsu, 1,000 blades of death. Everyone gained wide eyes when the swords started to launch at Sasuke, who was hit by 10 at a time. The swords didn't remain in him, no, they burned away, leaving deep dark angry marks on his body. Naruto appearing in front of Sasuke, with a single finger pointed at the boy said, Supernova release, subcategory planetary, Mars. Everyone gained wide eyes when from Naruto's finger a ball of flames the size of a small planet hit Sasuke. All that could be heard was the sizzling of flesh. When the ball died down, Sasuke was barely standing, until once again he healed. Naruto then grabbing one of the swords said, Kenjutsu, Dance of the Devil. He then vanished and appeared in short bursts, each time leaving a huge slash on Sasuke's body. Naruto appearing with hand behind his back said, Supernova release, subcategory animal, Roar of the Mighty Lion. Sasuke was then trapped in the circle of 3 mighty lions roaring, burning everything around him. Naruto then appearing in front of Sasuke opened his mouth and said, Supernova release, subcategory Hell Zone, flaming artillery. Sasuke was then pelted by arrows from Naruto's mouth. He then flipping backwards grabbed 2 blades with his hands, and then with the pair of arms that burst from his side he grabbed 2 more swords. He taking a deep breath said, Kenjutsu, Bite of the Almighty Lunar Wolf. He then vanished and appeared behind Sasuke. A lone howl filled the room, as Sasuke was blasted forward. Naruto then loosing the extra arms and dropping the swords lifted both of his hands and said, Supernova release, subcategory Desaterology, F5 tornado. A huge tornado of black flames appeared and picked up Sasuke, who was now screaming. When the tornado vanished, a normal, and barely alive Sasuke fell to the floor. Naruto walking up the thoroughly defeated boy grabbed him by the throat and said, Let this be a lesson to you. Don't ever threaten my mother, my aunts, my Heims or anyone else that I love. He loosing the flames and Soul Edge returning to her sealed state, said, Don't push me Uchiha, or next time I will kill you. He then let the boy go and walked away. The proctor shaking his head declared Naruto the winner and told everyone that the Hokage would let them know who they faced in the finals. Naruto hearing this rolled his eyes and said, Odds are, Ino is going to face Hinata. Temari-chan is going to face Shikamaru. I'm going to face Gaara. And Kiba faces the other Konoha genin who made it. Everyone blinked at this and Sarutobi said, Damn it, Naruto, stop doing impossible things like predicting the matches for the finals. Naruto smirking said, Not a chance in hell, old man, unless you give me the hat now and stop reading smut. Sarutobi shooting up in his chair said, I'll never stop reading, my precious, no matter how hard you prank me. Naruto smirking even more asked, So I can have the hat then? Sarutobi said, Hell no, you immature brat. You'll get this hat the day Jiraiya stops being a pervert and you marry a princess. Naruto with an insane gleam in his eyes asked, Is that a challenge, old man? Sarutobi nodded without thinking. He gained wide eyes when Naruto howled and said, Challenge accepted, old man. Get ready to make me Hokage. He then dropped a smoke bomb. Sarutobi clearing it face palmed finding Naruto, Ino, Kin, Kiba, Akamaru, Susanoo, Amaterasu, and Tsukuyomi gone.